Good evening, everyone. It is 6:30 p.m. It is Monday, January the 9th. This is the Rockford Area Schools Independent School District 883 Board of Education organizational meeting. We'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Start.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move into board roll call. All right. Sorry. Jenny Nealand.
Here.
Eric Gordy. Here. Jessica Johnson.
Here.
Beth Praska.
Here.
Jamie Hillstrom.
Here.
Amy Edwards. We have quorum. And we need to update the back of our agenda, because I was like, Brady Henderson.
Oh,
It's my cheat sheet for taking roll and
Fair.
votes. All right. Next, we will move into our ceremonial board member oath of office. I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent Dean.
Cool. Good evening. Each year, of course, we ask every board member to rededicate themselves to their jobs as school board members. And so for our current board members as well as our new board members, we're going to ask that you stand and take the oath of office. And what my experience with Rockford in the past is we've all stated our oath to the school district, and so I would expect us all to stand and say the oath.
Yep. So what we can do is in the board packet in front of you, you'll see the full ceremonial oath of office. I will read it out loud just for quickly. And then if each board member will then, when they're called, just state in the bold area. In your agenda, you can see that I affirm that I will support the Constitution. And we'll just go right around the circle. So I'll do it real quick. And all right. It is an honor that you were elected to guide the education of our community's children. As you recite the oath of office, you assume a tremendous responsibility as a director of our school district with the duties empowered by the Minnesota legislature. This power puts you and other members of our school board in the position of being both morally and legally responsible for equitable, quality education of every student in the district. In carrying out this responsibility, you will be asked to fulfill the roles of vision, structure, accountability, and advocacy. In providing vision, the board, with extensive participation in the community, envisions the community's educational future and then formulates the goals, defines the outcome, and sets the course for the public schools. To achieve the vision, the board establishes a structure and creates an environment designated to ensure all students the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. Because as a board, we must be accountable to the community, we must ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement and all conditions affecting the education of our children. As board members, we serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students and our community schools to advance the vision for our schools. Furthermore, we must strive to work together with the superintendent and staff to lead the district towards fulfilling the vision we have created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills and knowledge, citizenship, and personal development. Having previously signed the acceptance of oath and oath of office, we hereby ask board members to publicly affirm their commitment to the oath of office. And I'm just going to start down with Ms. Johnson.
Stand to do it.
Please.
All right. Put my hand up.
Sure.
Okay, here we go. I affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of the school board member of Independent School District number 883 to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you. Mr. Gordy.
I swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of school board member of Independent School District number 883 to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you. Ms. Praska.
I affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of School Board Member of Independent School District Number 883 to the best of my judgment and ability.
Ms. Nealand?
I affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of School Board Member of Independent School District Number 883 to the best of my judgment and ability.
Ms. Hillstrom?
I swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of School Board Member of Independent School District Number 883 to the best of my judgment and ability.
All right. And then I affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of School Board Member of Independent School District Number 883 to the best of my judgment and ability. Amy Edwards. So I'd like to formally welcome Jamie Hillstrom to the board, and congratulations on accepting your first oath of office. We look forward to 4 years of you serving this district with your term. And welcome back to the rest of the board for our next year together. All right. It is good to center ourselves around the oath of office and all that we are committed to for our community. Next, move into item number 3, which is the approval of the agenda. I would entertain a motion.
Mayor Gordy, motion.
I have a first by Mr. Gordy. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Prask. I have a first and a second. Any further discussion or comment? Pending no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carries unanimously. What you will note also before we move on to the next agenda item is that at 7:30 we do have our superintendent search planning. We do have guests coming in. So if our agenda continues to run a little bit long and into that, I would ask for a motion to move up at that time, item number 6K, into wherever we are into the planning. All right, next, moving on to the election of officers of the school board. First, we'll just open it up if anyone has any comments or questions or discussion before we jump into elections this year. Ms. Johnson.
I was just hoping we could just have a discussion a little bit about who's comfortable in the different positions. Going forward, I would like for us to have that discussion in December if possible. I know it can be hard when we have a new board member coming on board, and maybe there's something that can be brought in where that person is asked to be able to be part of that discussion or something. But just going forward, it'd be really nice being on the Masico board. We had a big discussion about that in December, and kind of looking forward to, I'll just throw this out here. We have 7 board members on the Masico board, and 4 of us will be done in 2 years, because all 4 of us have said we are not running again. And they are, 3 of the 4 have been on the board for many years. I actually have the least number out of the 3 of us. The other 2 have been on much longer. So we talked about exit strategies and making sure that, other people are getting on the board, because we don't want the Masico board to all of a sudden have turnover of 4 new people in 1 year. So I've already actually talked to Beth Praska about me stepping down next year, like how that'll work, and getting her acclimated this year so she's familiar with the board before she would step in on the Masico board. So it was just a really good discussion to have as a board, and I would think it'd be nice for us to have the same kind of a discussion as a board moving forward. I can start about myself for our board. I like being clerk. I feel like I have a skill set for being clerk. If someone else wants to be clerk and is passionate about that, speak up, say something, that's fine. I can step back, because I am done in 2 years. Chair, if you want me to be chair, I guess I could step up and do that. I don't feel like I have quite the skill set for that. I don't feel like my strengths fall in that skill set, but if my fellow board members would say, hey, we want you to be chair, I'll step up and do it, but I just honestly don't feel my skill set falls in that realm, so that's me.
Sure. I'll go next. I can do any of them but clerk, because that's not my thing. I could, if necessary, and if none, then none is a good thing too. Director is fine by me, so. Treasurer hasn't been it's not a super heavy lift, 3-4 meetings, conversations. Reviewing of some presentations of budget work and levy work. It's all good, audit, but that's the chair responsibilities, and I think our people here are good to help you with numbers if you have that problem. But yeah, any or none except clerk, fine with.
I'm pretty much the same. The only issue I have sometimes as far as chair is I do have to be out of town during the meeting sometimes for work, so I don't know how many I miss a year, maybe 2 meetings, I don't know, it all depends.
Perfect. Similarly, I'm happy to stay in chair if that's where the board wants, or if somebody wants to do it, very happy to mentor somebody in doing the role. As far as the other positions, of course, I would serve wherever the board needs and wants me to. That's just part of being a servant leader, so.
I would do anything except for treasurer. I would love to, well, if I continue on after 2 years, I would love to learn about being a clerk and that for my second term, if possible. I would be interested in being vice chair this time around if the board feels led. Otherwise, I am absolutely happy being a director.
Just not treasurer. Where is that?
I heard that.
Or chair, yeah, treasurer chair.
Yeah, I'm not really comfortable doing any of them, especially not chair. Talking in public still makes me a little squirmish. So, but yeah, I think I would rather wait a year and figure out what I'm doing before I took any of those roles on. So.
Rhonda, did you want to roll? All right, she's got that.
So, Eric, the chair role, how would you feel about being chair?
Whatever. Like I said, I can do any of them except for clerk. So, sure. Yeah. Yes, I could, if needed. Yes.
And Beth, Mary?
Yeah, I'm whatever the board needs me.
And the only reason I ask that, Amy, is I'm thinking like 4 years in the leadership, wondering, should we be like transitioning just for a change, like a different, I don't know. I mean, we've seen where one person in one position for a while in a leadership position, like what is the best thing for a district? Do you make sure that we're changing those roles or not? And that's why I asked Eric, because going around here hearing it's you and Eric who would be great chairs for the district, if you ask me. So that's why I'm asking, like, comfort-wise and like where you see yourself, like what would be best, So I'm questioning that, I guess.
Yeah, whatever's necessary.
Yeah.
And agree, and distributing the duties and the responsibilities, like for someone else to have the opportunity to be chair, so it's not just one person, right? There's a car accident and then Jenny has to be chair, or Jenny has to be treasurer. I didn't mean you, Amy, in a car, I mean me.
Oh my
Drive careful, Gordy.
I know, right? There's a lot of deer
That's
on the
one on the
way.
way.
But
Experience
cross-training,
on
yeah.
the board to have that mentor on the board to help the next going into it, and I don't know, so.
Great point. So I won't be running for re-election likely after next year. My only thing that I am going to lift up, Eric, I think you have great leadership qualities. There's no question in my mind. Perceived or real, There could be community-related conflicts of interest with you in the chair role, with, you know, other folks in your household employed by the district, as well as just your professional occupation. And so that's the two that I would, and it's not because of a inability to do the work.
Right.
It's just, it's extra noise that would potentially be brought into it. So that's my concern, and
And it's
If-
good to lift that up.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so
absolutely.
if we were thinking about succession planning, and if Beth is also talking about not having the capacity to continue on and to be super, like, jumping into the chair role, because you've been in the vice chair role, and that is the natural progression
Right.
oftentimes, is that your vice chair goes into it, because we've been a part of that, and that's why we led the work sessions. And if Jenny is interested in someday being chair, like, this could be a vice chair year for Jenny to then learn the ropes as well.
Mhm.
So that's the other side of it.
And to that point, I mean, my profession has no bearing on decisions made in the district, that this was in place much longer than I had been here. There's no financial obligation or opportunity for me with Rockford being a customer or not. So, just saying. As well as, I think we've done a good job cross-checking about making sure abstentions and different things occur. If there's anything that comes around because of my children or my household. So, perceptions are things that people have, but, you know, that's why there's laws in place. And it is not a unique situation to have that occur in other districts
And districts of our size.
and larger. And either way, right, whatever. You asked, I answered.
No, it needs to be discussed, it has to be discussed. Any other,
Well, I
feelings
think
on
I
it?
would be in the same boat, and I can't speak to it, but it'll become more important tomorrow, read the media of things I can't talk about, but just because you work for a company, does it, in the district, buy stuff from, doesn't mean that I don't profit from it, no matter, you know, just like Eric, like, I get paid regardless of
whether,
what the district purchases.
Or working at Bank West or being a
Yeah.
realtor or we're using a certain medical facility, it's all the same. So.
No, I'm good with whatever the consensus would be, and like I said, I'm happy to step in, and I'm happy to not. So, well, just like most of you, I guess we're a very undecisive board this evening.
I just think it's important that we have the
Conversation.
discussion.
Right.
I think it's important.
Yeah, I just, if you're thinking you're not running for reelection, and I mean, maybe it's a next year thing, but having someone who maybe has done the role while you're still here and can help, kind of, if Beth doesn't think that because of, you know, time away and stuff like that, that would be a good role for her, it might be prudent. Yeah.
And I don't know my future travel, I'm just
Right,
saying,
yeah,
I do
right.
travel.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But
And that's important to keep in mind.
So Beth, would you be open to going into more of a director role this upcoming year, or do you have a desire to be in a
I'm okay,
leadership role?
whatever, you know.
With whatever?
Yeah, I think leadership too.
Okay.
So I know that we're supposed to vote on chair first, but who is going to fill the treasurer? Is anybody else willing to fill the treasurer role? If
Right.
or-
Eric or
If I don't
Beth
wanna do
would.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of us probably. I mean, I would be okay with it. I've been
Okay.
treasurer on other boards. Math,
Okay.
I have my doctorate in educational and literacy, so
Okay.
math, but I can add. It's just not as good at it.
You can ask questions.
So the way it works is, so after this conversation, so I'll just do that and then we can go back to the open dialogue again. So right now I'm serving as acting chair, and then I will call for a vote. We call for nominations. Any board member can nominate a person for chair, and that's the first thing that we go forward with. We call for nominations 3 times. If there's 2 candidates nominated, we call for a show of hands vote. If it's split, we call for another vote. We get there till we get to consensus. If there's one nomination, then it's pretty straightforward and those sort of things. So that's how that goes. And then once the chair is established, then the chair will facilitate the rest of the meeting after that, and then facilitate the election of the rest of the officers.
You have to call like 3 times.
3
for
times. You call for
nominations.
nominations 3 times, and then I would call for nominations that are closed. If I don't call for nominations, you could call me out of order.
Yes.
3 times.
3
It's 3
times.
times. So with that, is there any further discussion that people want to have? I mean, I think we know where people stand as far as being willing to serve and kind of where we're at with things. Go from there. All right, so with that, I'll call for nominations. Do I have any nominations for the office of chair?
I'd like to nominate Eric Gordy for chair.
All right, I have a nomination for chair of Eric Gordy. Do I have any further nominations for chair? All right, do I have any other further nominations for chair? Okay, at this time nominations are closed. We have one nomination for chair. I will call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Mr. Gordy, you are now chair of the Board of Education.
Going through the rest of the meeting. Thank you, appreciate it, try my best, Amy, I'll lean on you as much as possible. Hopefully we move forward and work on this. So with that, going on to the next item, nominations for vice chair are in order for the position of vice chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
I'll nominate Jenny Nealon.
There's a nomination on the floor for Jenny Nealon. Are there any further nominations for the office of vice chair?
Can I ask a question? I'm just wondering, I know Vice Chair runs the work session. Is that something that you would be interested, do the chair and the vice chair kind of work together? I mean, would that be maybe a good thing to have, would you be interested in that role?
To serve as vice chair?
Yeah.
I certainly can serve as
Okay.
vice chair.
I just don't want to necessarily nominate someone who's, I guess
Yep.
I could just nominate you and you could decline.
Excellent.
So I will, yeah, I will nominate Amy Edwards for vice chair.
So, thank you, Jessica. So Jenny, you had been nominated for vice chair. Would you be willing to accept that position if chosen?
I would.
Okay, Ms. Edwards, you have been nominated for vice chair. Would you be willing to serve in that position if selected?
I would.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any further nominations for vice chair? Ask one more time, any nominations for vice chair? Seeing that there are no further nominations for vice chair, we do have 2 people nominated. Oh, you're going to lose something. So we'll call for a vote by hand. So all those in favor of Ms. Nealon as vice chair, please signify with the hand raise.
Can't even decide.
Very good. All of those in favor of Ms. Edwards as vice chair, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3.
I voted for Jenny. 'Cause I
Voted for
nominated.
Jenny. Okay, so seeing 1, 2, 1, did you vote? Oh, no, 1, 2, 3. Seeing that there are 3 for vice chair for Ms. Edwards and 1 for Ms. Nealon.
Did you vote?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So myself, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, I can't count.
Okay.
Treasurer can't count. There are 4 votes for Ms.
You don't need to count anymore.
Edwards.
And 1 abstention?
5 for Edwards.
5 for Edwards. Very good. Thank you very much. So Ms. Edwards will take the place of vice chair. Thank you very much. Time now to ask for nominations for clerk. Are there any nominations for clerk?
I nominate Jessica Johnson for the role of clerk.
Ms. Johnson, if selected, would you accept the role of clerk?
Yes, I would.
Very good. Any other nominations for clerk? Any further nominations for clerk? Seeing no other nominations for clerk, Ms. Johnson, by acclamation, you are the clerk. Thank you very much. Treasurer, now open nominations for treasurer. Are there any individuals here that the board would like to nominate for treasurer?
I'm going to nominate Beth Praska for treasurer.
Ms. Praska, if selected, would you be willing to fulfill the role of treasurer?
Yes.
Okay. Any other nominations for the office of treasurer?
Hold, please.
Yes.
Would you be willing to do it and try it with a mentor? And you don't have to.
Right.
The only reason I'm
Yeah.
suggesting it,
Have you-
it's a leadership role and it gets your feet wet.
Yeah.
So when my first leadership role was the clerkship.
And you have a
And
really good mentor.
You have a really good mentor
Really
that
good
would
mentor.
help you with it and a really good business office. So I wanted to double check because I know you said not treasurer. But
May
I-
I make just one comment?
Yeah.
There is a committee or 2 that the treasurer is required to be on.
Yep.
And so I just want to make sure Jenny knows that.
Do know that.
Okay. Okay.
I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Um,
So I'd like to nominate Jenny Nealon
Excellent.
for treasurer.
We have a nomination for Jenny Nealon. Jenny Nealon, you had indicated just now that you would be willing to accept the position of treasurer if selected, yes?
Yes.
Excellent. Are there any further nominations for the office of treasurer? And any last call for nominations for treasurer? Very good. We do have 2 candidates for the office of treasurer. We will signify our vote by raise of hand, and we will ask then for Ms. Praska. All those in favor of Ms. Praska being to the office of treasurer, please signify with your hand raise. 2.
There you go.
Excellent.
I want, what's one of them?
And for Ms. Nealon for office of treasurer? 1, 2, 3. Very good.
How about you?
I will abstain. So with that, the majority of Ms. Nealon for treasurer. So Ms. Nealon, thank you very much. Ms. Praska, thank you very much for your services, time of
Yeah, thank you.
Seriously.
Vice.
For everything.
And that brings to a close for election of officers for the school board. Moving on to number 5A, renewal of memberships. In your board packet, you'll notice that there are several memberships that the district had been a member of or associations for many years. AMSD, our collective bargaining, purchasing unit, MREA, you can see those with the costs associated to them. So the document presented in front of us is the renewal of memberships for this coming school year. Ask for a motion for approval for that.
I will make a motion to approve the renewal of the memberships as listed in our board packet.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Motions now.
Seeing no discussion, this is all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And this carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on to the board committee assignments. Hopefully you were able to read through the list of committees that were in our packet. I will say that there are a couple of them from the documentation down below with compensation that it said that there were specific members associated to a couple of the committees. Those in question, specifically the finance committee at the top, because go ahead.
All I want to say is the document that's in here, it says that finance committee has board treasurer and one other board member. It's actually board chair and a director. And policy committee is vice chair, clerk, and the other director. And then buildings and grounds is board treasurer and any board member. And negotiation is 3 board members.
Yes.
So just right here, she has it, so you can see that. It's not quite written in here because currently it's the finance and the buildings and grounds is what's written in the packet on the description sheet. But that's what we had decided back when we reviewed in October, November, November work session maybe, or whatever it was, that I had the presentation to you guys. And this is what we had decided was 3, 3, 3, 3, that there'd be 3 on each of the board committees.
Appreciate that. So the top 2 are, for the finance committee, are already set with the treasurer and the chair. Previously it was treasurer and chair anyway with Ms. Edwards and myself on that. So are there any interested?
Well, it'd be the other 2 directors, so Beth or Jean.
To be on the finance committee?
So if between me and Beth, if one of us is on the finance committee, the other one would be on the policy committee.
Yep.
So I'd be okay with either of them. So if you have a preference, it doesn't really matter to me one way or the
Do they
other.
both meet the same amount of times, basically?
Different times, but I would say probably very similar in number of meetings, yes.
Policy?
Just thinking about your expertise.
Okay, policy.
All right, so Ms. Praska will fulfill the role of policy committee, and Jamie, would you be willing to fulfill the role of finance committee?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you so much. Buildings and grounds committee, again, the chair, the treasurer, and then an ad hoc
Wait, could
committee.
you pause 1 second?
Oh, yeah.
Say what you,
She's printing for me real quick and then we'll get it.
no, but, finance committee?
Finance is Jamie.
Jamie is finance, Beth is policy.
Okay.
Buildings and grounds
Jamie's
needs
finance.
another
Beth.
Board member.
board member, so anyone.
Yep.
Doesn't have to be a director and can be anyone. So buildings and grounds committee, chair and treasurer right now.
I would like to be on that.
Yes,
please.
please.
I was like,
That's what I was gonna say.
I was like,
Yeah.
I picked the wrong officer role because like I feel like all of the work that we've been doing is now really disrupted. So I'm just saying that out loud.
Well,
Well, which one would you rather have? We can revote.
Well, not that, but it's just it's.
I would hope that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so
I'm
It's
serious.
more the facilities committee that's ongoing
Right,
work
and
that
then
I'm
you'd be
concerned
facilities.
about. But.
Well, you
hey,
could be
whatever.
on the buildings and grounds is a facility, isn't it?
No, facilities is separate.
Yeah, it's what we meet like every other week on. I forgot that one was, I knew the top, I thought about the top ones were, but I didn't think about that one.
Does it have to be the board chair and treasurer? I know we decided
Yeah.
that. Is
Yeah,
that like a
because of
policy?
those actual roles and what that involves.
Oh, I meant in facilities.
Yeah.
Even if we have now a building and grounds committee?
Yeah, that's where I'm confused.
Right,
Why do we
Buildings
have-
and Grounds Committee is really an extension of, it covers facilities, so it is, do we need buildings and grounds
Yes.
and facilities at the same time?
Yes.
Yes,
That's what I-
because buildings and grounds isn't going to be as broad as your facilities committee. It's very
But do we need to
narrow.
designate for our facilities specifically that it's treasurer, like we used to back in the day before we had a
Because we
building and
didn't have
grounds
the
committee?
buildings and grounds.
I think it's important for your treasurer to be on your high-level committee,
Mhm.
but it's the day-to-day facilities, I'm not for sure based on the work that we've been doing. That's
Agreed.
all I'm saying.
I would agree with that.
If everybody agrees upon that, I don't.
We would just need to amend the policy at the next meeting, wouldn't we?
I
Is
don't
it in the
even know
policy?
if that ad hoc
Oh,
describes
sweet.
that,
It's-
so
it's not in
it's
there.
not even
Policy,
in there.
no.
It's
Sweet.
not even in the policy.
Well,
That's
then-
just a suggestion.
If,
Yeah.
if people are cool with that, then I would stay on facilities, if that
Mhm.
would please the board. And then I would be a vice chair, or I would just be the ad hoc member of the buildings and ground, and then Jenny would be the treasurer
Yeah,
role in
absolutely.
buildings and ground. Yep,
Cool.
okay, that was the one I wanted
I
to
was
see.
worried about
I
that.
was too.
Because I was thinking the Buildings and Grounds Committee would
Because I was like, I
take
wanna mentor you on
Yes.
the board stuff, and
I-
then,
yeah.
just,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Are you clear?
Yep.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
Ms. Edwards,
Yeah.
Ms. Edwards, you will
Okay.
be joining the Buildings and Grounds Committee?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. Negotiations Committee, previously, we got two of them done,
Yeah.
right? We have
Yeah.
teachers coming up soon.
So we're not in the middle of anything right now, so things could totally change on negotiations. If there's anybody who's like, man, I want to be on negotiations.
And the good thing about 3 is then we mostly always have 2.
The
Yeah.
reason to have 3 is so that like the teachers will say one of the ground rules is at least 2 board members are in every meeting. So that at least we have 2 of us there, and it is important to have 2 there, we have found. That's important.
And I will say that Ms. Edwards had filled in on negotiations.
With the teachers.
With the teachers
Yeah.
instead of myself, and I did principals in 284.
Yes.
284,
And I
283.
think
And the
with-
next
I
week
think that's
is-
good precedent to continue, even
Yeah.
though technically,
Yes.
even though
Yes.
technically, you probably technically could, I just,
Not
I
interested in doing
don't, I
teacher
don't
negotiations.
want
Well, and I
that.
think for you right now, being chair, I think there's enough that's gonna be on your plate that maybe negotiations
No, I'm fine, no, that's
Could,
totally
like,
good without.
be taken off your plate maybe?
So we have 3 openings. Ms. Johnson, Ms. Prask, are you willing to continue?
As long as I have a good, that there's 3 of us in case I am out of town.
Okay.
I'm totally fine being on it again. If there are other people who are just dying to be on negotiations, jump at it, that's fine, but I really don't mind it. My schedule allows me to be there pretty regular. I think I've only missed a couple. So I'm willing to do negotiations again.
And I don't mind doing what we had done before with secretaries and principals on one and the teachers on the other, because that is a pretty big, the teachers is a big lift.
It is a big lift.
And splitting it by that
Yeah,
is
they're
fine.
opposite years. They're
So-
opposite years, so.
So what are you saying, I
And
guess?
I don't know if either of you are interested in negotiations
Not-
for your first go around with teachers going next.
Yeah.
Right,
I would do it.
I'm not super keen on it. I would
Okay.
do it, but I don't think it.
So given
I don't think
that,
you would be
Ms.
bad at it. I really don't, but.
Yeah,
Ms. Edwards,
I think you could do it,
would
but.
you be willing to serve on negotiations committee
Yep.
again? Since teachers are coming up next. and-
Is that all that we have this year?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
then
we
Sue-
should be hopefully soon. I
Yeah,
hear
and
from
super-
soon.
and super.
We hope to hear from the teachers soon.
Well,
Oh, okay.
all right, so we do have our 3 then with Ms. Anderson, Ms. Johnson, Ms. Prescott on negotiations.
Okay. Wrote this down.
Minnesota State High School League, as an ad hoc committee, Ms. Nealon, you had served on that previously.
I would like to remain number 1 on that.
With that being said, she will need an alternate in case she is unable to attend any of the meetings, which is about what,
Which is once a year this Thursday.
Excellent. So is anyone willing to be Ms. Nealon's alternate for that once a year this Thursday meeting?
Are you free this Thursday?
She'll be
It's
at the
at the conference.
Conference.
Perfect.
It's one of the workshops.
Yeah, I can.
All right, so Ms. Hillstrom will then be the alternate for the Minnesota State High School League Facilities Committee.
Please.
We would like to, yes, go ahead, please.
I would like to
Excellent.
serve on the
I thought you were going to
facilities
say we need to change it,
No.
which is totally fine to say that.
So we have Eric.
All right.
Wait, what did you just say?
Chair and vice chair will be part of the facilities committee.
For facilities, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So the same two people that were on it are gonna stay on it.
Yes.
Continuing Education Committee, I think that's a committee that's called as needed.
No, they meet 3 times a year,
Okay, that's.
fall,
that.
winter, and spring. It's a morning meeting and it's Zoom and it's, run extremely efficiently. It is half hour, maybe 35 minutes, super quick. It's really easy to be on. I don't mind being on it. But if someone else wants to step in as one, go for it, but I don't mind staying as number 1.
So is anyone interested in being primary for the Continuing Education Committee, as Ms. Johnson had said she'd relinquish? Seeing no volunteers, Ms. Johnson, thank you. An alternate for that. Ms. Nealon, you had served previously. Would you be willing?
I could remain as alternate.
Unless there's anyone else.
And I'll let you know if I can't make a
Yep.
meeting and,
Yep. I'm on all the emails with
Oh,
you.
perfect.
Anyway. Yep.
Number 8, Curriculum Advisory System Accountability Committee. Mr. Anderson, who is no longer, yes.
I would like to volunteer to be on that committee. I've been going to the meetings anyway.
I think they met once this year.
Yeah.
Very good. So Ms. Hillstrom to be on that, and an alternate. Ms. Praska, you were on that previously?
Sure.
Would you be?
yeah, I
Very good.
think that's a good alternate.
Community Education Advisory Board. Ms. Nealon?
I would like to remain as number 1 on that as well.
Excellent, and we do need an alternate for Mr. Anderson is not serving any longer.
How often do they meet, Jen?
4 times a year.
Okay.
I would be willing to be an alternate on that one also. I don't,
It's a good
So Ms. Praska and Ms.
Nealon.
Hillstrom have.
And
no,
Hillstrom.
Nealon.
No.
Oh, between the two
Yeah,
of us.
between the two of you as alternates. I don't, either of you want to.
I think Jamie said she wants it. Ms.
Very good.
Hillstrom, yeah.
Very good. Ms. Hillstrom then will be the alternate on Community Ed. Chamber Committee, number 10. Ms. Pratt, yes. Ms.
Jenny.
Nealon.
Yep.
Wish to be the primary for?
I wish to be the primary, if that's okay with everybody.
It's a long walk to that meeting many times for you, I would guess.
Well, the coffee ones are often upstairs, yes. But half my office just clears out during those things, so I'm like, I was worried about missing work for it, but I'm like, no.
Work is
Okay.
there.
Work is there.
So Ms. Nealon as a primary for your Chamber Committee, we need an alternate then for that, just in case.
I can be the alternate, but
Thank
not
you,
too
Ms.
worried.
Thank you.
And
Ms.
you know, the
Praska.
happy hour at Christmas, it's open to everybody.
Everyone, I
So-
highly recommend, it's fun. You might want to.
I want a turkey.
I love it. All right, the Legislative Delegate Assembly is 2 meetings a year that happen in November, December. There's an election again for being part of that. Totally good with staying on that if no one else is interested in giving up 2 days in December to do that. All mine?
It's all yours.
Very good. I'll stay as the delegate assembly person and the secondary. Ms. Praska, you were there. I don't think I've used you in the 4 years I've been that. No? Would you be willing to continue with
Sure.
that? Excellent. Thank you so much. The Masico Board. I know Ms. Johnson is
Yeah.
very much interested, continuing her leadership role there. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And a secondary person for the Masico Board.
I was hoping Beth for it. Well, the reason I say that is because I had talked with Beth about like transitioning into that role for next year with her background with special ed and stuff.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
That's why I was.
Absolutely.
But Jenny, if you're really interested, I mean, if you two want to,
It's up to you, Jenny.
I'll be backup.
You have to.
well, it'd be great to
Not a
know
problem.
like for next year, like then that's who we need to step in for. Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be super.
Excellent. So
So
Beth
Beth.
and then Ms. Praska and then Ms. Nealon if necessary. Very good. Northwest Suburban Integration School District, a couple meetings a month. No, a couple meetings during the year, right? It's like
It's every other month.
it's like 4 or 5 meetings. They don't meet in the summer.
Right.
Oh, is it
So-
virtual or in person?
Currently,
It's
you're
both.
chair, aren't you?
Correct.
Yeah.
Last year, not this year?
Right now, not yet. We didn't have the
haven't had it
organizational
yet,
meeting
okay.
yet. I don't care if I continue on. I can do that. It's fine. if someone else wishes to be the Northwest Suburban Integration representative.
The only thing that I'll add, just for new members, is it was one of my first committee assignments, I think. And what's cool about it is it allows you to go outside and meet other people and learn more about like the districts that we partner with. So it gives you that outside versus just solely introspective. So that's the only thing that I would add. Obviously, Eric's doing an amazing job at it, and it's a great. I mean, it's good to be a part of it, but that's the only thing I would lift up is
And I
it's
will-
not hard, and you get to meet different people.
Well, and you get to understand the programming.
The big picture.
We have over 300 students that attend Rockford area schools
Yep.
through this program, so.
It's a big.
We're a vested
I would also
partner.
say it's a big deal committee assignment because it is
Yeah.
important that you show up. It's important that you represent Rockford well. It's a
Yeah,
big part of how we get students here. All of those sort of things. So I'll stop talking,
And
but that's
I
all
will
would
say,
add.
thank you for saying all those things, though, I mean, you're very kind also. I will say that many districts, now that it's the virtual option, there are some that show up, but there are sometimes that both members of the board show. Now, one only shows and votes and does the stuff, but then there's an observer from the district
Oh,
as well
interesting.
that comes along, because they're open meetings.
That's
So-
actually really cool to step in and be able to be a part of that, that's cool.
Right, just to
So
sit and listen,
The
right?
alternate could sit and I mean, anybody
Correct.
could, but that's
Yeah.
cool.
It's up to you, Eric, I don't wanna overwhelm you because it sounds interesting, but if you're vice chair, I mean, that'd be weird.
Yeah, I am the
Is-
chair, right, I'm the
if-
outgoing chair, so.
If you were not to be on there anymore, does our district lose anything by not having you as the chair of that
No,
committee?
no, it's just running the meetings
Okay, yep.
and signing some papers.
So you would probably go to the next meeting anyhow.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
on the, I don't remember, it's coming up soon, so, yeah, I'll be at the next
And
meeting.
where do you go when you have in person?
It's right near Target Corporate Center on 610,
Oh, that's easy.
It's easy.
Oh.
That's an easy job. It's not bad.
so, between Target and Hy-Vee.
And what time is it during the day or not?
Evening.
6:30 at night, and they last about an hour.
And they're like, kinda like Masico meetings.
So if anyone wants to take that role over, I'm totally fine with it. If not, I'll continue on, and if there's an alternate that wants to join me, totally fine with it too.
What I would say, I second what Amy said, like one of my first roles was Masico, and I thought that was a great introduction into board work
Yeah.
outside the district and getting to know, like, I had no idea what Masico entailed, and it's amazing, and the support that we have outside our district. And Northwest Suburban's the same type of an idea, but in a different realm.
Our
One is
magnet
special ed, the
status.
other is in our magnet, and we have 3 magnet schools, and I think it's really important that we understand what it all entails, so.
So is anyone, with that information, anyone interested in being primary? Very,
Someone might be talking.
very good.
Yeah, I
Um,
just do it.
Yeah, so I'll just do it then,
Yeah.
did you say, yeah,
Yes.
I'll just do it then,
Yeah.
and then do you wanna be, anyone wish to be alternate and come along once in a while?
Are you not interested in?
You
Okay.
can- I think you should give it a
Yeah,
shot.
I'd be interested.
Excellent, thank you. So Eric Gordy and Jamie Enstrom, thank you very much. The Schools for Equity in Education. Hooray, we have Beth Braska and Jenny Nealon on this.
I can stay that.
Very good. Ms.
Beth, you do such a great
You
job
do.
on that committee, and
Yes.
you're so good at reporting to us everything that's happening.
Ms. Nealing, willing to continue as alternate?
Absolutely, and it kind of works out well. Beth kind of heads up the C part, and I kind of head up the MREA part.
Oh, nice.
That's
I'm
cool.
on all their emails, and I stop by at the conference, and
Excellent.
That's awesome.
they had a big fancy conference that in November that I was thinking about, but it didn't work out.
It's
schedule-wise.
up north, isn't it?
Yep, it's up north at
Yeah.
a resort.
But I think
Um,
one of us should go to it sometime, so.
Yeah,
if
maybe
you're
next year.
able, yeah.
All right, so we have our people. The District Staff Development Committee, currently we have Ms. Nealon and Ms. Braska serving.
Did they meet, Jenny? No. They never meet,
I don't. I've
So
never
since you
heard
guys didn't
about
do
this.
anything, we should probably make you do something else.
Yeah. I mean, I've been on it for 4 years and we've met once in 4 years.
Okay. So are the two of you willing to remain in that role just in case that
Yeah.
meeting is necessary? Very good. The committee at large is a list of 3 people.
Most recently, that committee was Mr. Anderson, Ms. Neal, and Mr. Gordy, and past duty was to figure out what our superintendent search committee was going to be.
So that committee is in the middle of a project.
Yes.
So I think the original two that are still here should stay on it.
Fine with that? And we need a third to fill in?
Yep.
I'm
can
willing
fill in.
to if needed, but if someone else wants to. Amy, you want to?
Ms. Edwards?
Sure.
Excellent. Thank
Perfect.
you, Ms. Edwards. Appreciate that. And then lastly, AMS CD is the chair and vice chair, so that will be Gordy and Edwards.
Sweet.
Very good. Thank you very much, and everyone for being willing to serve. Okay, we have 9 minutes before we take a pause. The next item, letter 6A. The board needs to delegate statutory duties of clerk to the administrative staff. This includes keeping books of minutes and all district school board meetings in preparation of reports. That shall include the well, I can't read it so small, Amy, thank you for giving me the piece of paper. Not that I'm old,
It
I
helps.
know.
The- the-
Sign.
I can plus sign it,
No,
I
the paper
agree.
helps, trust me. It
I
just
know.
keeps you rocking.
All right, shall include the condition and value of the school district property receipts and disbursements in detail and such other financial matters that may be called for by the Commissioner of Minnesota Department of Education. If the board agrees, action is needed. So is there a motion to?
I make a motion to delegate the statutory duties of clerk to the executive assistant.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards. And a second?
I will second
Ms.
that.
Johnson, second. Since this is a vote, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. That motion carries. Resolution authorizing business manager. The board needs to pass resolution authorizing the business manager or superintendent to make deposits, pay expenses, invest and transfer funds, including electronic transfers, in the best interest of the district. This includes the authority to invest and wire fund issued checks between board meetings to pay bills so as to be eligible for discounts, deadlines, etc., with the payment of same to be approved by the school board at the next meeting at which payments of claims approved. If the board agrees, action is needed. So with that item, I would call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to delegate statutory duties of treasurer to the school district business manager.
Excellent. First by Ms. Hillstrom, second
Second.
by Ms. Nealon. Madam Clerk, as this is a resolution, would you please call the roll and record the vote?
All right. Jamie Hillstrom. Aye. Jenny Nealon.
Aye.
Amy Edwards.
Aye.
Beth Braska.
Aye.
Eric Gordy.
Aye.
Jessica Johnson, aye. The resolution passes.
Resolution passes. Thank you so much for recording that. Next item, delegate statutory duties of treasurer to the school district business manager. Board needs to delegate statutory duties of treasurer to the school district business manager. This includes depositing of funds in the district official depository, preparing the monthly treasurer's report. If the board agrees, action is needed. There is an item out for,
Point of inquiry, we just, the motion on the floor in the last one was,
Not a resolution.
Not a resolution.
that's what it
One
said.
before. That
Which
one's
one?
not a resolution.
Oh, the one that I just read is a resolution?
Mhm.
How come it said resolution on my page? Interesting, sorry.
are we on item 6C?
That was B is not a resolution.
Yeah.
Because my B
That's
is
okay.
that one.
Yeah.
C is a resolution.
Yes,
C is
C
a
is a
resolution.
resolution.
Thank you.
I was
Appreciate
like,
it.
wait.
The other one passed anyway. So this one is a resolution, so we'll go through the same process. Apologize for that. Make it bigger. I need bigger glasses, right?
Yes, you do.
Or just use the paper like Ms. Edwards had suggested. I should probably learn from her, which is a great thing. Okay, so a resolution authorizing business manager to make deposits. I had read through there. If the board agrees, action is needed.
So moved.
So move, Ms. or Ms. Edwards, move the resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Ms. Johnson, thank you with the second. And any discussion? Very good. As this is a roll call, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Jamie Hillstrom. Aye. Jenny Nealon.
Aye.
Amy Edwards.
Aye.
Beth Praska.
Aye.
Eric Gordy.
Aye.
Jessica Johnson, aye. This is a unanimous vote.
Excellent, thank you. We are at resolution authorizing the use of facsimile signature on payroll and voucher checks, item 6D. The board needs to pass a resolution authorizing the use of facsimile signatures on payroll and voucher checks in accordance with provisions of Minnesota statutes 47.41 and 47.42. If the board agrees, action is needed. Can I call for a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Edwards, thank you. And a second?
Second?
Ms. Nealon, appreciate that with a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by, is it a roll?
Roll call.
The resolution, thank you for keeping me square.
You're
Ms.
good.
Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Jamie Hillstrom.
Aye.
Jenny Nealon.
Aye.
Amy Edwards.
Aye.
Beth Praska. Aye. Eric Gordy.
Aye.
Jessica Johnson, aye. Roll call vote is unanimous.
Excellent. 6E, compensation for the board members. Yes, I think,
I would
would you like
like
to make a motion?
You know what? I would like to make a motion to, at this point in our agenda, to move item 6K into our agenda at this point. So moving it into, make it 6E, the superintendent search planning session, which is starting at 7:30. So a small 2-minute break, so our friends can get things set up for us for our session for the superintendent search planning session. And then we will come back to the remainder of our meeting after that.
Second.
I have a motion to move 6K up into the order of 6E and move everything down with a second by Ms. Nealon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will then, you said you want to take a short recess?
I move for a 2-minute recess and we will come back together at 7:30.
Second.
Second, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're in recess for,
3 minutes, 7:20.
till 7:30.
Cody, can you move the podium? Let's
Yeah,
put
bring
a
the
table
table.
out here.
I was thinking the same thing. I wanted to see all three of them.
Stand at the podium.
As long as you have the podium and look at it. There we go.
She knows what she wanted to do.
Yeah, right. I was thinking the same thing, Rhonda. Of course you did. Did you see me staring at them at the tables?
Anybody need to get up and walk out?
I know, right?
I do. I'm just gonna walk out.
My body is so sore today.
What did you do?
You'll be fine. Honestly, it's not hard. You'll be fine.
Although I work at a bank, I work in documents, not money. I know.
Because like the motion that we just.
Any clicks on our posting yet?
Yes, 6 of them.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah,
Just clicks?
good.
That's good, right? I mean,
No, it's good.
it's-
And then, you all had calls, you know, so I think,
He'll be a great
you know,
mentor.
like you say, you're a good district, you're in a good
It'll be good
area.
in that way.
You know, so like we did last time, we had a quite a few out.
It's
So
good.
we'll see. That's good.
I hope so, yeah.
Looking forward to that.
And 2 years.
Looking forward to.
No conflict of interest with the accounts?
So,
You're working at the bank?
congratulations.
Kind of shocked, but.
Probably no more than Eric
Okay.
with his work.
Yeah, with his work, okay. I just thought of it, sorry. I just,
That's a good question. We'll just need to probably cross-check that as far as you do
Hopefully,
authorize
the
funds
uses were-
transfer, like
the
they call you,
district,
when you do that kind of stuff. It's more of
The
a.
district, that video that they put together
But
to
it might
promote
also
schools
be-
that we sent to y'all.
Hopefully that'll encourage some
Yeah.
people to say, that's kind of a good place.
I talked to a guy just a couple of days ago, and he said,
We don't do
Go on.
that. But we'll make sure, like we'll cross Ts, dot Is, do all the things before you
Get a good
say,
view of what we are.
yes, I authorize those funds to go.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Are you coming back? All right, it is 7:30. I'll call the Meeting back to order, and we will move on to letter 6E, which is the superintendent search planning session, and I am happy to call up Ken Draseth, David Clough, and Bob Osterman from School Exec Connect.
Thank you. Well, Ken and I are happy to be back, and brought one of our good colleagues with us this time, in Bob Osterman. We are with School Exec Connect, and we are a firm with eight partners and about 60 associates, and we do work mainly throughout the Midwest, a lot of work in Minnesota and Wisconsin and Illinois, Michigan and Ohio. But our Minnesota team has been very proud of the work that we have done for the last several years. So I thought we would just begin by quickly refreshing who each of us are. Again, I'm Dave Clough. I'm one of the partners in the firm, and I spent 40 years in education. In Minnesota, I was the high school principal in Hastings, deputy superintendent in Mounds View, and superintendent in Eastern Carver County, and finished my career in the Chicago area as superintendent at Libertyville High School District in the north suburbs of Chicago. So, Ken?
Yeah, I'm Ken Draseth, and I spent 39 years in the Edina school system, started as a teacher, and the last 14 years I was superintendent there, the principal, and a variety of other roles. When I completed that, I went over to the University of Minnesota, and for 8 years ran their administrative relationship program and taught over there. And then I did that, then we bought the company, and Tony Johns and I owned the company for 4 years, and then decided that was enough of that, and I'll just do searches, that will make it easier. So that's done. I've probably done 70 searches in my career in this process.
Bob?
Bob Ostland, I believe it was 43 years I spent in education, all in Minnesota. Taught for 10 years chemistry and biology in Eden Prairie, and then I was a assistant principal in Prater for a while, and then Eastern Carver County now, Shasta at that time, and then assistant superintendent there, superintendent Shakti for about a decade. I was headmaster of St. Thomas Academy. And I finally entered my career in Wayzata, where I had the pleasure of working with Rhonda, and retired from there 15 years ago, which even when I say that, it's like I can't quite believe that. But joined Ken and Tony, and we joined this work for 15 years. And I'm 50, 60 searches anyway, I'm not really sure. But it's a pleasure to be with you and working with these guys, which I always enjoy.
You want to?
Yeah, I'll, it's, for 5 of you, this is something you have some familiarity with from 3 years ago, so it's, you know, you kind of know quite a bit about the process. I'm sure you remember a lot of it. But let me quickly just go through the process that we typically use, and any questions you might have and so on. The first part of the process we're into right now is this initial planning meeting where we make sure everybody understands, you know, what we're about, and there's no surprises. That's one of the things we value highly in this process, that nobody gets surprised at any point in time. Certainly you don't want any surprises, we don't want surprises, candidates don't want surprises, so the better planning we can do and having everything that possibly come up covered, it works extremely well. Allows the search to go extremely well. So tonight will be, you have the agenda for this session and points we want to cover. once we have the timeline and everything established, we want to set up, typically, and because you've done this search very recently, you may want to modify that. We'll talk about that in a bit, but typically we would, the first major part of this process would be to set up interviews with all of you, and other individuals, certainly, joint superintendent, and any others you think would be good to interview. And then focus group interviews would be typically a part of the process with staff, students, parents, community, all with the intention of getting people's thoughts on what they really value about the place, what they really are proud of, issues they see, goals, and most importantly, what do they think the next superintendent needs to bring to really be eminently successful here. So also, we typically will put a survey link to your website online that people can access and answer the same questions that we use with the focus groups and so on. We take all that information and we utilize it to put together a profile. In your case, perhaps modifying the profile you had, because it's fairly recent, if that's up to you, whichever way you like to go with that. Once that is established, we will be with you to review that profile, make sure everybody's comfortable, and then that will guide our recruiting and vetting of candidates from that time forward. It's kind of a quiet time of the search from your perspective, but not at all from our perspective, because we're working hard to make sure we look for the right fit for that, for the field of candidates that we would recommend to you. Candidates will apply to our website, and like I say, we recruit real hard for these positions. We have a pretty good handle on people who are, attributes that they bring through all of our connections in our firm and knowledge of educators and administrators in Minnesota and Midwest. And we typically, when we bring candidates in, as a rule of thumb, I think about half of them we will have recruited. They would not be part of the process had we not recruited them. And about half roughly will have applied, and we've vetted them and think, hey, this could be a good fit. We will follow whatever procedures you like with internal candidates, if you have internal candidates, but typically, we'll vet them and go through the same process as any candidate would. And obviously, we do lots of reference checking and internet checking, and there again, we don't want any surprises, and neither of them either. So we're going to make sure that we know everything we can possibly know about each candidate that we would bring in. And in the end of that process, we typically would bring in 5, 6, 7 recommended candidates. We never know for sure how many. If we think they fit the profile, we bring them in, and if we don't think they fit the profile, we won't. So we never commit to a number. And we won't bring somebody in just to meet a number, only if we think they really are a good match. And at that point in time, and all through this process, one of the goals is to involve as many people as possible. Anyone who cares enough about the Rockford area schools to want to be involved, we like to see involved, because that just makes it a stronger process and allows you to look really good too in the process, which is always a goal of ours. And so we do that at the front end with focus groups and a survey, and then at the once we get to the point of bringing candidates forward, we will present them to you. You will, as you recall, I think from 3 years ago at that point in time, the names are still not public, data practice laws, and so we do our best to describe each candidate and what they bring without exposing who they are. And then once you have approved the slate, then by law, they become public in the state of Minnesota. Every state varies on that a little bit, but Minnesota is a pretty tight in terms of confidentiality. Once you have approved that slate, then we will have set up tentative interviews based upon the schedule that you end up deciding on later this evening. And do first round interviews, those are just with you, as you recall. We'll work with you to set up appropriate questions and so on for that part of the process. And then once you've interviewed those 5, 6, 7 candidates, we'll facilitate your decision making in, who would you like to bring back as 2 or 3 finalists for this position. And once you agree on those finalists, then we will set up full-day interview sessions for each of those finalists. And again, at this point, there's a lot of involvement from the staff and community with multiple interview groups throughout the course of a long day for the candidate. And we'll be here to facilitate all of those at that time. And each group will fill out a feedback form in terms of how they feel about the candidate, how they feel about how they fit the profile, how they would work with the various constituent groups that exist here in Rockford. And then you'll get all that feedback at the end of the day. When you typically, the schedule would be the community interview typically at 5 o'clock. And when you cover that, you'll get a folder with all that feedback from all these groups that have interviewed throughout the course of the day. And it gives you some valuable insight into what people think of each candidate. It's certainly your job to make a decision, but input like that really helps and really helps involve a lot of people as well. So once you're through those 2 or 3 final interview days, then it's time to decide who would be your best fit for your next superintendent. So that's a quick overview. Any questions at all?
I have a question.
Yes.
At the time of the first round of interviews, different members of the public, of the school district, of the community are going to be involved in sort of interviewing the candidates, correct?
Not in the first round, no.
Or in the
Just for the finals.
Just in the final.
second round, sorry, second round.
Final. Second
Misspoke
round,
there. Will they be provided with questions for that, or is it whatever they want to ask the candidate?
They can be, and sometimes districts will ask for that. Different groups often will get together and put their questions together.
Okay.
Most commonly, teaching staff will often do that. Building administrators will often do that. But it seems to work really well, no matter what. People come up with great questions. Students in particular always come up with great questions, and it's just off the cuff, And so it works either way. It does. I know some people maybe get a little nervous about not having questions set up ahead of time, but it always works. It works really well.
No, that's not true for the board.
Right.
You expect that your questions, you're going to develop prior to your interviews with the candidates and carry those out.
Right.
The other thing we do with all the other groups, we let them know specifically what questions are not legal to ask.
Thank you.
And it's our job to try to help, not only help you hire a new superintendent, but also stay out of trouble.
Great.
So we do.
In the second round interviews also, we have a feedback form. I think that's huge. So every group will interview the candidate, and then they will say, how do you think this person matches the profile? And then are there questions or concerns that you want the board to know about? So after each of those sessions are done, you gather that information, either copy it or put it on your computers or whatever structure, but you will get that information prior to your final interview that night. So you'll have some time kind of between we'll go over the schedule, but between the community meeting typically and your final useful to get as much input from people, and then you take that just like you do as a board member, you know, and then you make the decision.
In the first round, I should have mentioned this, we will work with you to put together the, 13, 14, 15 questions for a 1-hour interview. And it's very important, each candidate will be asked that same set of questions. And that's important legally, because if you ask in that first round different questions of different candidates, that could open you up for favoritism or some kind of bias and so on. So that's a very important part of the process as well. Once you get to the second round, that's not an issue, because now you know these candidates, you may have total confidence in someone's educational leadership abilities, but not so sure about their financial aspects of the job, and vice versa on a different candidate. So you can ask different candidates different questions in that second round. But not the first round.
And if I remember correctly, I mean, you guys led us through an exercise, basically. Here's a long list of questions that kind of fit what your profile is, right? And then as an activity for the board, we go through and select. I think it was like 35, 45
Yeah,
questions that you
there's a
provided
lot.
to us,
We'll give you
and
a-
we as a board decided to.
And you can always create your own that aren't on that list, but 12 to 14 questions is pretty much max that you're gonna get by in an hour. And typically, the candidate would tell a little bit about themselves, and then at the end, you would say, why should we hire you? And then in between that, all the stuff that you want to ask. We'll take you through that.
And the nice thing that I recall is that the questions were focused on what our profile related, how they related to our profile, which was a nice opportunity for us not to have to try to figure that out.
So if your first candidate takes longer to answer those questions and you run out of time to ask all of them, then on your next candidates, do you stop where the first candidate
What we
stopped?
would suggest you do, and it's up to the candidate to manage their time. And
Right.
because one of the good leadership qualities is to manage your time.
Right.
Basically. And so we tell, whoever your board chair would usually typically start out and say, we're gonna have 12 questions tonight, we've got an hour, so manage your time. And roughly in the middle of the session, board chair would typically say, we've covered 5 questions and you got a half hour left, so plan. If someone, and we have this happen, there are people who have to tell you more than you ever want to know, but, and if they go on too far, they have to manage it. If they don't get done, then you do an hour interview. That's it. Everybody gets an hour. You don't give someone an hour and a half, another one a half hour, So we'll help you through that process, but yeah, that's their responsibility. And they know that, we tell them.
Any other questions? Well, if you take a look at page 2 of the planning document that you see for this evening, there's a draft of a letter, and again, I'm sure 5 of you remember something very similar 3 years ago, but we would, this is something we think is important to get out to the community, typically emailed to as many people as possible. And it sort of, it tells the public, parents, and the community about this process and about opportunities to get involved in the process. And so this will be modified in any way you'd like it modified, by the end of this meeting. But as you can see, it just talks about the fact that you contracted with our firm to assist in this process. And the second paragraph obviously just talks a little bit about ourselves, and then, but more importantly, goes on to talk about how there will be opportunities for staff, parents, students, community members, individually and in focus groups, to determine the challenges, strengths, goals of the district, characteristics, skills you like seeing in a superintendent. So that however you will or will not modify that, we'll just make sure the letter reflects what you want to do. Also, there's a Survey Monkey, I'm sure you remember 3 years ago, some of you, that anyone can access, whether they've been part of the focus groups or not. But it's another opportunity for people to give input to the process and what they'd like to see. The third paragraph has a lot of blanks because those blanks can be filled in once we decided on a schedule, when we'll be presenting candidates and when the interviews will be held. The bolded paragraph just gives people information about the survey, if you choose to do that. And, obviously we have to have a date in there by which they would submit that. So then there's our contact information, and we put that in there for a reason, because we certainly encourage people to contact us if they'd like to. That's just fine. We will get, questions, and we enjoy entertaining those and helping people understand the process as much as possible. And then obviously your name will have to be added to the bottom with the roles you now have at your organization. Any questions on that? Okay, well, I think Ken is gonna.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna talk briefly about the input part of it. On page 3, you see these are the questions that will be, if you decide to do a Survey Monkey process, these are the questions. They are also the questions that we will ask in focus groups. So when we, if we pick a focus group, let's say of certified staff, we ask these same things. So everybody gets the same questions, and no matter what group they are, obviously. And you're going to get, once all of this information from SurveyMonkey and the focus groups get done, you're going to get a large document, sometimes 10 to 20 pages of people's comments and things. And what we find, it really is a point in time of your district and where you are and what people are thinking. Now, we did this 3 years ago. A lot has changed in 3 years. You've been through quite a 3 years for everybody. And so I think it'd be good to see where you are now, what you're thinking about, what you're doing. Anyway, we'll give you all that information. And all that information, as Bob said earlier, we'll take that and put together another profile for you. Some of the things may be what we had last time, but there may be other things that are new and different that you're looking for in the community for that. So, as you look at page 4, this is kind of based on what we did last time. Okay? And so there are 3 types of input that we tend to get from public, yourselves, and others, and the staff and so on. We do an individual interviews, and we typically do individual interviews of the Board of Education members. There's 6 people here. We typically do the current superintendent, and then we typically have done, and we did last time, the presidents of teachers union, and if you had, I think they had co-presidents or something. Anyway, whoever they are. Okay. So that would be individual interviews, and what we can do that, on site. But what we found in a lot of boards, they'd rather do a phone interview. Now, and it's worked very well for us to do that because all of you're busy and all the time. We just set up a time where we can call you, and then it'll take 15 minutes to 45 minutes, depends how much you want to talk, that kind of thing. But so we'll plan on doing that. That makes sense, Logan? And
You'll get the same questions as the focus group.
yeah, same questions. And likewise with Rhonda, we'll do the same thing. Call you. And do you have a co-president or one president now for the union?
It's co.
You have co again. Okay. So we'll get the names of those and get that set up. Call. Okay. And the focus groups, last time we did we did administrators group, we did a certified staff group, we did a non-certified staff, we did a high school students thing, and then we had kind of like parent leaders, and I don't know how that would be the one. I'm not sure what you have, and again, it's a bit similar. We did last time. You have like you have PTA groups or PTO groups or something in each building. Anyway, we let you decide who they are.
Sure.
Pick, there are 8 or 10 your parent leaders that we can meet with. And then, so those are there any other groups that you would want in that? I'm going to go down to the open meeting and then my answers for you. The open meeting we typically held, usually we held that in the evening. Last time, 7 o'clock or whatever normal time, 6:30 or whatever people are used to here. That's open to anybody. All the public, any public person can come, staff can come if they want. You know, we're not, obviously in the focus groups, we can't take, 50 people and then just, so we typically say for certified staff, we'll talk to either you can talk to the principal or we can talk to the union presidents and say, give us, 15 people to represent of different age groups and so on in the district. And non-certified, we take all the different bargaining groups, to have a couple from each bargaining group. And then students, like I said earlier, we take high school students, we just ask principal, give us a representative group of people that we have. So in the community meeting, anybody who didn't get a chance to be a part of those focus groups is welcome. Last time, I'm not sure how many we had, but we had a number of, it's usually not hugely well attended, but the biggest part of all this process is to say you have a chance to give your input. You have a chance to give your input through the online survey, the focus group if you don't want to come to anything. You're going to get a chance to come to the open meeting if you're not a part of these other focus groups. Okay? So we'll set up a schedule, and part of that is working, last time we worked with administrative aid, and I assume we were doing this with Courtney. All right, so you'll be our contact, and we'll call you and we'll kind of talk over the process for you in greater detail, so, yeah, help you out. So basically that is, we will talk about a calendar here, we'll pick a date, but when we do come in one day, we like to do it one day, get all the different groups, and then we'll follow that up with the evening meeting, and get that. So I think that covers the focus groups and this input. Everybody's comfortable with that schedule and those groups? Okay, David, you go to the schedule.
Yes, we've got the proposed calendar, and let me just say at the start, all of our searches right now are on a more aggressive calendar. Coming out of the pandemic, I think we would tell you in most of the searches we've done recently in the last year or so, we've had fewer candidates than we typically had prior to 2020. Some of that is those of you who have been in governing positions the last 3 years or administrative positions kind of know what it's been like. It I think has caused some candidates to maybe review more whether they really want to take this job on. The other thing that's entered in is all the crazy stuff in the real estate market that's been going on. The housing prices that skyrocketed, and now we've got the high interest rates, and there were candidates that we would be recruiting that said, I'd be very interested, but, I could never afford to buy a house in a particular district. And so, for those reasons, we think it's important to try to keep you out front as much as possible on this in terms of getting the very best pool of candidates that we can here, and the later you go in the year, the more difficult that becomes, because there are going to be more districts out there looking for superintendents. So we had, Bob had sent actually a couple of possible calendars to out, and Eric, you had indicated that this was, Eric and Jenny indicated that this was a more preferable one.
Yeah, if you don't mind, we did have two proposals, and I think the only difference in time was the one that we chose not to present to y'all was condensed by 1 week only.
Yes.
So January 9th, we're here tonight doing the planning meeting. We would, after this meeting, we generally like districts to get that stakeholder letter out within a day or two. Just, again, I don't know if you have a district email blast that you use. to
Push it
get-
out to Infinite
Put it on your
Campus.
website.
Put it on your website.
Yeah.
Put a lot of this stuff on your website, and have a superintendent search button there. So we are proposing that by the 13th, the internet survey would be ready to go, and we put that date in the letter.
I think we can move that back to the same date as the letter.
Okay.
Because that.
The survey, we've got the survey ready to go.
Who sets up the survey?
Who sends it out?
Who sets it up? Is that something that you guys set that up?
Yeah.
So that's all set up, and so then the link will just be given
Yeah, just
to
send it.
the executive assistant, and she will
Right.
put everything in there.
Exactly, yeah.
I can just see a look.
Yeah.
Easier for you, not,
And board, do we want them to go out at the same time, the letter and the survey, as suggested?
I think
I
that
think
would,
so.
I mean,
I think that would be
if we
good.
have the link in the letter as well.
Yeah, otherwise you get the letter and you forget to go back to the survey
Yeah,
2
I
days
would,
later.
when you
so
get the
I think-
letter, go to the, yeah.
Yeah, we can just do it right away if we.
And I think we said, Bob, that we have the survey up through, was it?
Says on here.
The 20th, assuming we stick to this calendar, we would run the survey until January 20th. So it'd be up for about 10 days.
Which is pretty typical.
Yeah, and sometimes the more time to give people, the worse it is, because they, well, I got time in it, and instead of just telling you how I'm doing it, so I think it'll look fine.
So, and then, we're proposing January 19th as a day for the focus groups. And, Courtney, we would be working with you to,
I'll call with them.
yeah,
Right
Ken,
now, working on it.
yeah, Ken would be working with you on that. Yeah,
From what I recall, as a board member, we set the time, I remember going to the RCC meeting with one of you.
Yep.
And we
Right.
had the interview there, whatever, like you were saying, phone call, it's just,
Right.
for each of us, it's a snippet of your,
We will, what I would like to do, I'll probably do the phone calls, so we'll work with Courtney, just give me a time, and then I can call you, and it can be, it doesn't have to be on the 19th. It can be a date that, during that week, if you,
that works.
we'll give us a date that'll work, and I'll just make a phone call. That'll work.
and as I recall, we had like 2 rooms, with folk, Ken was in one, I was in the other, and we ran the focus groups kind of out there for that particular day, and, so would you still think of the evening meeting being at the high school? I think that's where it was last time, or would it be here? or
With the
what?
community.
The community center.
The community, the open meeting
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
Probably the auditorium like we did last time.
Yeah,
Oh, that much, huh?
Did you do that?
Yeah, I believe you guys did the auditorium, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And it was like 3 days before we went on lockdown.
Oh, gosh.
Gosh, I know, it was like.
Oh.
Yeah, because I was like, how did this actually work?
Yeah.
Because we did,
we
it
did
was
so much virtually.
before
Yeah,
all
we did all
of
that
that.
before.
We got through all of that, and then when we
That's
got
right.
to the collection of information to us, it
Mhm.
was all virtual.
It was all virtual, that's
So
right.
I'm kind of concerned about the 19th. Can I interject here?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm kind of concerned about the 19th in terms of getting the students and the staff, because that's next Thursday. And with the conference this week and Monday being a holiday, it's really only 8 school days. And it's the end of, coming up on the end of the semester. And so I'm assuming that those especially the student meetings are during the school day. And so I'm just wondering if it would be of any consequence if we could do those meetings the following week.
The problem we have, and I
Okay,
understand.
fair enough.
I understand, the problem we have is that we need to get that profile approved by the board, number one. So we
Okay.
have a board meeting on.
Oh, we do have a board meeting.
Yeah,
Oh,
so we
I
Trying to
see
get
you.
it in there, but it
I see
also,
you.
it's also for us in recruiting, to get out that profile and how to
Okay.
do that. Now,
It's gonna be tight.
with the student focus group, what we did last time was, it was over the lunch hour, and they served them some food or pizza, I don't know what it was, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But, and we just did it as part of that time frame. And then with the teacher ones, we did that late afternoon as soon as they were done. So, and this is a schedule I can work with Courtney, but basically, we can do the parent leaders we did during the day, we can do the students over lunch hour, we can do the non-certified staff, actually, we did that during the day because we just had representatives from each group to do that. And then we had the teachers would be the last one, and then we had like a 5 o'clock community, a meeting, so community meeting was in the evening, so teachers can be that 4 o'clock to whatever, I don't know when you're done with the teachers here, but whatever it is, they'll be available after that.
Okay.
So I'll try to work with
With
Rhonda,
Courtney.
you and Courtney, so we make sure that.
And so I heard you say you wanted all of those on the
Yeah,
same
same
day,
day.
and so the 19th will be our
19
day.
would be that day.
All right.
And the phone
All
calls,
right.
Calls
you
will
could
be
do
whenever,
within
during the
about
day.
18th, 19th,
All right.
20th.
Right, yeah,
We'll-
they're during that
we'll make
day.
it happen, Ken.
So-
The day that we're here doing.
We'll make it happen.
It's just a phone call during the day.
Yep.
We'll make it happen.
Okay.
So we need to put evening on our calendars for the
Yeah.
19th.
Well, you can come to the open meeting if you want to, we typically don't ask board to do that.
Oh, okay, perfect.
We will, when we do the final interviews, Bob talked about that schedule, will be where you have, they'll meet the staff or community and all these groups will come back and have their time with each individual candidate on the day that they're here. So on the final interviews, we'll go over this quickly again. Final interviews, each candidate has their own day. And they come and they meet these 5 groups the same way like we did in the focus groups. They'll meet them, and we talked about that, ask questions and so on, and the feedback then comes to you. We would like you to be there for the community meeting, which is typically like 5 o'clock. Because we want you to be able to see, and like we did last time, it was hard last time because we were doing it on Zoom, so it was not quite the same, but we want you to see how they interact with the public and how they handle questions. We don't want you to ask questions, we just want you to observe.
And
So
that's the.
that, the
that's
community
night-
one.
No, that's like in
community
February.
one on the last.
okay.
Not
End
the
of February.
19th
Yeah,
one.
that would be,
Okay.
no, that's.
February.
you
February
don't-
28th
We
is
don't
our
want you
first.
involved with the groups on the
Yep.
19th.
Okay, thank you.
So it's the February 28th, March
Yeah,
1st,
the
March
one-
2nd.
Right, 28th, 1st and 2nd, yeah.
Mhm, correct.
So your day would start at 5 o'clock.
Your days are, because they do the community one and then we have our final
Right,
interview
yep.
with that candidate
That's correct.
following that. So each of those nights, starting at 5 o'clock.
Yep.
The 20th, 29th, or, sorry, 28th,
Well,
1st and 2nd.
depending on how many final candidates we have.
Right, it could be 2,
Yeah,
it could be
it could be 2 nights or
Yep.
3 nights, depending on what you want to do.
Can I
You'll make
ask,
that decision.
but that's a
on-
district calendar? I know that there's a girls and boys basketball game in Annandale on the 19th.
19th? 19th doesn't, oh.
The boys and girls basketball is the 19th.
Impacting, you're thinking parents, or, because the kids will be interviewed during the day.
The kids are
Parents.
parents.
Parents will be in the
Parents
morning.
would be during the day too.
Community one.
Community.
So nothing in the evening after 5?
Community.
On the 19th,
Leaders.
we were intending to have a community meeting in the evening for anybody. who
Community,
wanted.
extra, when parents are during the day.
Those are the only 2 events on the 19th, correct?
So that's my option.
And anybody who misses that can go on the survey, get the same questions. So tell them, oh, I can't go, no, go online, you're gonna have the same questions.
And just for clarity, this is to build the profile with the community, but like, let's say, to Eric's point, some parent is in Annandale and they can't make the community meeting, then are they excluded
No,
from
they
the
go-
February 28th, 1st and 2nd community
No,
interview?
no, no.
Perfect.
No, you, No,
So,
No, the
Yeah.
committee meeting that we'll have on the February 28th for the second, again, is open to everybody.
perfect,
Just trying to respect those people.
Anybody wants to come.
yeah.
Right, right.
And it doesn't have to be a set group of,
No.
so 50 people could come on the
No.
28th and
Right.
2 people could come on the 1st, and it doesn't,
No, we aren't controlling that at all, it's all
Okay.
up to them.
sounds good.
So we will be very busy over that weekend, and after the survey is complete and the focus groups are complete, bringing you a draft of the profile at your meeting, which I think is at a work session rather than a regular board meeting, or is it both?
Which day are we talking?
23rd.
5:30 work.
We have both
We have a 5:30
meetings that evening.
Okay.
I'm not sure which one will.
Well, the board chair and co-chair met earlier about the work session on the 23rd. It's a skinny, so.
it's a skinny work session.
Presenting the profile to you is, again, it kind of depends how much changing you might want to make to that or additions, but usually that profile presentation is maybe a half hour. And then we do like the board to basically, sometimes boards do this in a work session and they basically just endorse the profile. Other times, if it happens to be during a regular board meeting, the board will actually have an action to accept the profile. But it can work either way. Just,
And that's what we did last time.
we want you to
Talked
be
about it at the work session.
comfortable with that profile, because that's what we're immediately using as we go out. And I've already talked to people who are like, what exactly is Rockford looking for in their next superintendent? I said, well, hopefully after the 23rd, I can send you a copy of the profile that the board has endorsed. So,
And in addition to the profile itself on the 23rd, we would present the whole document of focus group feedback, which
Right.
usually 15, 20 plus pages of what we've heard from all the different groups and individual interviews and so on. And then kind of the highlights of that, the themes that run through that, as well as a summary of the top responses from the survey, which are both then utilized to impact what that profile says. So that's why it takes like half an hour or so, because you want to go through those documents and then the profile itself.
So with what you know, does the work session, is it not a good fit?
So my only thing with the work session is depending on what we have to do with facilities, if we need to do some time with the board to talk about funding, bonding, those sort of things in a work session, and then we would take action in the next, and, that kind of thing, which we'll have more clarity on the next week or so.
And that's probably not the regular conversation.
That would probably take up the majority of the work session, and then to take action in the board meeting, if otherwise,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, Yeah, just knowing what that is.
Yeah, so I mean, you could either fit this into like the regular meeting and just put it all out there and then take action on the profile and then the community, it's super
And
transparent.
we'll have the profile well in advance to review and read and
well,
to be
you'll
included
have
in
it
the
in
packet.
advance, I wouldn't say well in advance.
Well,
But
Right.
we will
That
get
day
it
at
to
some
you,
point.
if possible, we could get it emailed to you on Sunday. Saturday or Sunday, so you'd have,
Because it doesn't close till
Right.
not that we wanna make you work on the weekend, but you'd have an opportunity to carefully review it.
That'd be great. Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
So I have communicated to ICS and that they were going to present it during the skinny, so we're gonna maintain that?
Yep.
Yeah, on the 23rd, you can just tell us where you want it on the agenda and what time we should be here to do that.
You got it.
We'll be here.
Sounds like it'll be the regular
Sometime after 6:30.
Yeah.
Hopefully not too late.
Yeah, after 6:30.
Okay, then obviously, as Bob said earlier, you can relax a little bit while we're doing the recruitment phase. Then we're proposing on February 22nd, which is a Wednesday. And I don't believe that coincides with any meeting that you have scheduled.
22nd.
Yes, we do have a meeting that.
Regular session of work.
Okay, good. So we did do that with the board. Awesome. So we would present the slate to you that night, and the slate is presented in a public meeting. And as we explained to you, we first, kind of give you a description of the candidates that we hope you would decide to interview, and then once you adopt the slate or approve the slate, then the names are public. And that's why we think it's really important in all our searches to have the first round interviews as immediately after the slate has been announced as you can. That it's not a good time for candidates, because all of a sudden their names are out there. And so it's good for, I think, both the board and especially the candidates to do those interviews right away.
Mhm.
So we've proposed a couple different ways you could do it. Probably most typically boards would do evening interviews. We're proposing on the 23rd and 24th that you could interview 3 candidates. Let's say if we have 6 candidates, for example, you would do 3 of them on the 23rd and 3 on the 24th. We did put in our, as an option, and this is again something some boards have done. I don't think we think it's ideal because you get kind of tired. We have had boards that will take a Saturday and do all 6 interviews on a Saturday, but it gets to be, I don't know that always the 6th candidate is getting your fair attention by the time you put in a day like that. It's pretty intense. So would the 23, 24 doing, if it's 6 candidates, 3 each evening? Okay.
So are you thinking like a 4 o'clock, a 5:15?
Whatever you want.
What would work for you? We
Yeah.
should get let's try
Yeah.
to nail the times
Times.
down for you.
What's the
So-
earliest that people would be available for? Okay, Jamie,
And
you can make it work.
yeah, whatever.
Okay, go 4,
Now-
5:15 to 6:30.
Thursday.
Thursday and Friday, the 23rd and 24th of February.
So they're a Friday night?
It's a Thursday and a Friday.
Thursday and a Friday.
Yeah.
Hold please.
Oh, and I'm not available for a
Either of
bit
those?
on the 23rd. I'm training another state.
Another state.
And
Just to get it
he
done.
mentioned the Saturday option. I'm not available on that Saturday. Just FYI.
What time are you thinking? Like what time?
What works for you?
I have to be virtually training from Minnesota time 5:30 to 7.
On both days?
No, just Thursday.
I will be out of town likely in Litchfield on the Friday night. It's a doubleheader, Eric. FYI.
I guess I'll be in Litchfield on the 24th in the evening too.
And you're not available on the 25th.
Oh, actually, girls are in Litch. Sorry, you'll be in Litchfield. I'll be in the high school here. Sorry, I read that in my calendar wrong.
Well, so you're not available the 24th,
Well, I can be.
and you're not available the 24th.
Could you guys do a little bit earlier on the Thursday?
I could do it
and knock 'em
I
out?
could do it earlier than evening time on the 24th.
Yep.
I
Can
mean,
we do
ideally.
anything earlier during the day on the 23rd and 24th?
Yeah, as long as I'm
possibly?
done by 5:30, like 5:15.
Yeah, I could
On
take
Thursday?
time off.
You can do them all during the day on
Sure.
those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jamie, how does that work for you?
That's fine, probably.
I just need to know
I'll make it
schedule on
work.
my calendar.
So do I.
Yeah.
As long as I know. I mean, if we do it
So
on the
in the
23rd,
afternoons on both days,
We-
or?
We could do.
Both days, because they can't in the evening, she can't in the evening.
Yeah.
So it would have to.
Or not having one day.
One option would be if, it's on the 23rd, if you can, if you're all available during the day, you could do 3 in the morning and 3 right after lunch and be done with it. And then you'd be done by.
It would be hard to block a whole day off personally for me.
Okay.
I mean, I think, it's just like we talked about not doing them all on a Saturday.
No, yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
your choice, we're just trying to find one we can have access.
3 on the 23rd, 3 on the 24th.
Friday the
Earlier
24th.
in
walk
the day.
Like 2 to 5?
Friday the 24th is the best day for
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, if we do, I just need to
3.5
know where I have a
You do
Alaska meeting.
an hour interview, take a
Well, we
10-minute
do
break.
break
another
then.
interview,
Friday we could
10-minute
do
break, and then
9 to noon or
a little over 3 hours.
8 to noon, right? To have a break in between each. And then,
Or at least Friday afternoon, because I have no meeting Fridays afternoons.
So with Friday, starting in the morning, taking a break for a little bit, and then completing,
Oh, doing them all on Friday?
doing them all on Friday?
I'm game for that.
Okay.
I'm also game for doing them in the afternoons on both days from, say, 1 to 5.
or 1 to 5 both days.
Yeah.
Splitting it
Would that be
afternoons
better?
works better for me.
1 to 5 both days work better for you guys?
Yeah.
If you start at 1.
1 to 4:30.
1 o'clock, 2:10, and 3:20. So you'll be done at 4:20.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
We would ask you to come a few minutes before lunch, just too.
Right, yeah, yeah.
You know.
I think that's a little better personally than a full day.
How does that work on Thursday for you?
I don't have to worry, I'm good till 5:30 at night.
Yeah.
When's your noon though?
That's, my noon is on Friday at
Okay.
11. Well,
Oh, it's at
no.
11 till noon?
No, it's at noon to 1.
Noon to 1, so we'd have to start a little later on Friday.
Mhm.
So on the 23rd, we
Start at 1:30
1.
on, start at 1:30?
What could we do if we have 6? Could we
Just
do
that you're
4
gonna
and
start
2?
pushing it late for.
Mhm.
Could we do 4 and 2?
Yeah, we could do 4 and 2.
Do 4 on Thursday and 2 on Friday?
Sure, you could do that anyway. Yeah.
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 Does
So
that work, you guys?
we would start at 1 on Thursday, the
And that
23rd.
would go till, well, maybe start at noon on Thursday if we're gonna do 4.
She's got it.
Yeah, I have a
Oh,
meeting.
Thursday's your noon one?
No.
No?
I have a meeting till noon on Thursday.
Okay.
1 o'clock, 2:10, 3:20, and 4:30, so you'll be done by 5:30.
I just have to sneak out a titch early, or if I can set up shop over here, it wouldn't be a very long walk.
You could do your training, just stay here and do your training.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what you just said.
Does that work?
Yes.
1 o'clock,
Yes.
So then you-
On the 23rd?
2:10, 3:20, and 4:30 are the 4 interviews. So you'll be done at 5:30.
Okay, I'd have to personally be done at 5:25.
All right,
Yes.
Well, we can go,
Yes.
start at 12:30.
And Rhonda, you can give me an office to work in?
Well, what if we start at 12:30? Can you be here by
Yes.
12:30?
Yes.
All right,
Then
start
you
at
have time to get
12:30.
home.
Yep.
So now we're at 12:30,
Yep.
we're at 1:40, 2:50, and 4 o'clock.
And then
So
we're
we'll be
done by 5.
Yep.
And then
And
on-
that's on Thursday, is it?
Yep.
Yep.
Then on
That's
the,
on the 23rd.
on the 23rd, and then on the 24th,
Start at 1 and be done by
Well, it's
3?
morning or afternoon? better?
3:20.
When you get done
Yep.
on the 24th, you have to narrow the pool to the finalists.
So
That
1 to
takes-
4.
You'll be about 1, it takes roughly half hour to an hour.
Can we start at 1:30?
1:30 to 4:30?
Yep.
Yeah.
Does that give you
Sure.
enough time?
is that enough time for basketball parents?
Litchfield?
He's gotta go to Litchfield.
Yeah, I think that'll, if you do it 1:30, you'll have 1:30 and 2:40. Okay, that'll be the 2 interviews.
And then done
They're done at
3:40.
3:40, you should be done by 4:30.
All right. Just to clarify, on the 23rd of February, we will be meeting at 12:30 and getting done approximately 5 o'clock.
Yep.
And on Friday, the 24th, we will be meeting at 1:30 and getting done at approximately 4:30.
Is that okay for you?
Amy?
Yeah, I can make all that work.
You're
I
okay.
just wanna make sure that, 'cause
Jamie?
is it 5:30 that you have to be there by?
That's what I gotta look at. And if I walk in.
It would be 5:40,
it's
wouldn't it,
just-
Dave? It'd be
Well, no,
1,
like I said, you guys do it.
2:10,
I'm not here, it's okay.
3:30, 4:40.
We're starting at 12:30 on Thursday.
12:30.
So that's why I'm
Okay.
trying to be,
Sorry.
like,
If you
um,
can come
when we have a
15
choice
minutes
and an
early
option,
on that
really,
first
that's really
day,
important.
Yes.
just to be sure, just a final review of who's gonna ask which question, before the candidate comes, that would be helpful. Second day, you don't need that, because you've already, you're into that routine. But-
We're in the zone.
So you'd like the board to be here at 12:15?
Right, yeah.
We can get it pretty well set up on the evening of the 22nd, so
Right.
it won't take a lot.
Oh, and then we have a meeting on the 22nd.
Yeah, we
Correct.
got
Got
it, the board meeting, yeah.
Because we'll wanna put this
Okay.
in, yeah.
Okay.
And then, we're okay with the final days being the 28th, March 1 and March 2.
So there's nothing.
Yeah, how
You're
does
good.
28th, 1st, and
Thanks.
2nd work
I'll
for
be in
everybody?
Gym.
We would be there at 5.
5, it'd be evenings, 3
Yeah.
evenings in a row. 3 evenings in a row, and it'd be your evening.
And it'd be just us observing how the candidate is interacting with the community members.
And then a final interview.
And usually in between, it's nice if you can have dinner with the candidate, and it can be anywhere from, there's some districts that will choose a local restaurant to go and have dinner with the candidate and then come back and do the interview, or you could cater something in here and just have kind of an informal dinner with the candidate.
That's typically what boards are doing now.
Yeah, more and
More
more they're
doing in-house.
catering it in-house.
We have so many options to go to. so-
We actually
I know, I
do.
love
They're
it.
all, I mean, within 10 minutes, we actually have a decent, I mean, it's reasonable.
In Clayton.
Is that on March 1st?
Big board one too.
February 28th,
The first and.
first and
Oh, so all
second.
3 days,
So it's
7.
There'll be-
if we have 3
That's
candidates.
If we have three
three
candidates.
candidate finalists.
Okay.
If you have 2, and then it would be the 28th.
In the first,
Yeah, the
or the
first.
1st and 2nd, whatever works best.
Yeah.
Okay, let me look at my other schedule for those days.
All right.
I have Masiko meeting on the 28th, but if I miss it, I miss it.
You're at London Spice Room.
I'll be at New London Spicer.
Yeah.
Are you
so-
home then? Or do we both go out there? Can't remember. Where are you?
I cannot do the night of the 2nd. Well, I could if I'm done before 6:45.
Oh,
That's a problem when you
Yeah,
work with
your-
Alaska.
Your
You're out
final
there.
interview
Yeah.
on the board probably won't start until 7:15.
Yeah.
So
I'm just,
if you miss the community meeting, you'll still get the feedback from everybody else.
no, I mean, I'm starting my meeting with Alaska at 7 o'clock at
Oh, it
night.
starts at 7.
I think we start sections or something.
Oh, right on. Oh, okay, because this is the tail end. Okay.
So if we have 3 candidates, we'll have to figure
Yeah,
something
figure it out.
different.
we'll figure out dates.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, then, just back to the agenda. Last time our board liaison was your committee, would it be Eric, you and Jenny again?
And Amy.
And Amy now, we just added her tonight.
Okay,
Right.
yeah, I'll do that. Eric, Jenny. Oh, yeah, I skipped over the advertising. It is, the advertising began, the week between Christmas and New Year's. So it's now on our School Exec Connect website, which gets a lot of hits. It's posted already on MSBA, and it's posted with Minnesota Association of School Administrators. And that's the advertising you chose the last time. I mean, there is paid national advertising you could do. We don't necessarily recommend it. You know, some of the large districts, you know, will run an ad nationally, but most of our districts, gets pretty good exposure. Yeah, and there's no charge for any of that. Okay, so the staff liaison is Courtney. Some districts, we have a technology liaison who would maybe, you know, help with Bob getting sure that we've got the link to the survey, but we don't, I would say most districts your size, we probably don't have a separate technology liaison.
We do, but everything can go through Courtney.
Yeah.
Anyway, she can reach out to the
Okay.
right people.
If you just
You
send
can
us
link,
the survey.
link the survey to the website, and you're it.
I was saying, depending on what you
That's
say,
it.
you can do
We're
both.
done.
And then Courtney, you would put the various things on the district website then too. Awesome, great. Compensation guidelines, we don't have to have that tonight. We would at some time, we would like a copy of Rhonda's contract. So we have, you know, kind of a feel for what's in that contract and,
So Courtney, you would email that to the three of us. That would be
Yeah.
helpful.
and then Eric, would you envision it would be the committee that would talk about what a salary range, you know,
Yeah,
might
usually,
be?
Last time we brought it to, the committee had a conversation with recommendations and ideas brought it to the board for considerations, and then the board said, yes, this is our pot.
Okay.
Yeah, don't go more than this. So,
Yeah.
yes, and it was the same thing, and then the contract, we worked in cooperation to get a contract in place with compensation.
Yeah, in our postings, we just posted it as regionally competitive, was
Okay.
the term we use, so. Okay.
And the risk of, this is when you come in here, but Beth, you cannot do the second.
No.
I'm free on the 27th. If, I don't know if you guys are pretty tied up, but I don't know if the 27th would work, but if it works for you, we could go 27, 28, and March 1st.
I cannot do the 28th.
You can't do the
28th.
28th?
The 28th.
28th.
Oh,
And neither can Eric, correct?
No, I can't.
Right.
I'm free all of that whole week, I think. Because I'm not traveling that week.
That's the only one for me, is the 28th.
27th works for me.
27th
Do all of
works
us
for
need
me.
to be there at each of them?
We
Okay.
should.
Yes.
Okay.
What time does it start?
5,
5 o'clock.
Oh,
5,
then
and
I'm good
it'll
on the
probably
27th.
go until
9-ish.
I can do the 27th.
8:30, probably 8:30.
the 27th. Is everybody available 27th as
Yes.
an option?
I can.
I am.
So
Mhm.
27th and 1st might be.
27
our-
and 1.
If we have 2 candidates, if we have 3, we'll have to figure it out.
Okay.
The only,
We're talking
You
about
don't.
February. Oops, I better look at the right one.
we have had board members, if possible, be part of it through technology of some kind. If that's a possibility, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
What about? So, the 27th and the 1st.
And the 2nd wasn't an option for,
But it's just me, so it doesn't matter. You guys can meet.
well, no,
The goal is to have all board members,
Yeah.
right?
That's a night you're making a decision.
Yeah.
Whenever the last
Oh,
night.
yeah, the last
Yeah,
night.
school
Last
night
night.
is
It's gonna be decision night. If that's last night, that's decision.
Yeah, no, we need the board, full board, right, because this is important.
So from that standpoint, it might be advantageous to go 27, 28, and first. Because you avoid that decision night when you're all here.
But she's not available the 28th.
Yeah, we
She's
can't all
our
be here on the
vice chair.
28th. So it would be the 27th first, and then potentially another day, if we have three finalists. Is there football, basketball that night?
It's very
Home.
close.
Home, so I mean, it's home, so
So we set
it
up
could be
now with the
like
Asterisk
as long
on
as
the
we're done by
second.
5:30,
27,
that would be
yeah,
great.
First and
But we start
Asterisk
at
on
5.
both.
On a Friday night.
We're starting at 5 on
I'll get
this
all
round of
sent to Courtney
nights.
in the morning. So, we'll have links in the letter and schedule.
Does that change anything
Sure,
for you
what
on
did
the
we just
28th?
decide on the 3 dates here, 28, 20?
27, first.
27th and 1st is as far as we're at right now. 27th and 1st, from 5 o'clock on.
Okay.
27th,
One of those
first.
during the day, during lunch.
Asterisk on the second, hoping not to have to.
Asterisk
Yeah, I think
on
that's a
the
fair
2nd.
question.
Yeah, I mean, I
That's a
think
fair
if we're gonna asterisk one, we wanna do the 28th. I mean, I would want Amy to be there, but I wouldn't want Beth to miss the decision.
I know, so that's what we're
day.
saying.
Like if we're having an asterisk one.
We aren't doing any on the 28th at this point.
Yeah, we're,
So,
Right.
is it possible to do one during the day? I know we have to have community, but maybe it'd be okay to have it open for community members during the day and then do a lunch
To
or
do
something.
are you saying do 2 of them in a day? Is that-
Or on the 28th, do it during the day.
Oh.
Do one the 27th at night, during the day, or the 28th, and then night again on the 1st.
Cause what
Just-
what is the all-day interview process?
Yeah,
Can you just
let
map that
me-
out real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The all-day interview process would start out typically with a tour of the district with somebody, maybe with Rhonda, Tromeron or Eric, whoever wants to. Typically, it's either board chair or the superintendent or that's retiring or whatever, however you want to do that. But anyway, that's typically from about to 10 o'clock. And then we start with the 5 groups that we're going
Okay.
to have. Okay, so would be probably, the students would be over lunch hour, would probably try to stick to either parent leaders or the non-certified in that 10 to 12 slots somewhere in there. And so students, staff would be after their workday, whatever that is, okay? And then we would have the community meeting after they're done, so whatever that, roughly 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, and that's why we get the 5 o'clock one.
Okay.
One dinner of some sort and then a final interview.
And Ken mentioned earlier, each of those groups individually fill out feedback forms for you. And you get those when you come at 5 o'clock. That makes it difficult to change that schedule because oftentimes, as you mentioned, you can ask different questions of different candidates. And oftentimes, there's, one of the questions on the feedback form is, do you have any questions you'd like the board to ask this candidate or follow up on, or any concerns? And oftentimes, board members will ask questions on those feedback. So, having the board meet prior to
No,
all
makes
that
sense.
would be very different to the
No,
process.
no,
Yep, makes sense.
Do you guys have a basketball game on Friday the 3rd?
There is a home game that night here in Rockford, so that would be.
We'd be missing it because there's no way around that.
Mhm.
Any other?
So are we set?
We got a lot of information, we'll get back to you.
Do we need to pick a 3rd day? What about if we move into the,
The 3rd day, I think we said would be the 2nd.
But we can't,
We can't with that.
we can't, Beth will not be here, and that
Oh.
being the decision-making day.
So what about this? So we can do, so if there's 2 candidates, it's the 27th and the 1st. If there's 3 candidates, it's the 27th, 28th, and 1st, and it is what it is for me. And I'll be here.
You'll make it here?
Well, there's not an option.
So
I mean, that's-
28th would be the optional.
Yep.
Okay, let's just do that.
Okay, so
So asterisk on 28th.
27.
So 27.
We didn't last time we settled on 28.
Correct. Yeah. So that's,
Most likely it'll be the 27th first. Yeah.
correct. That's why I said that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's,
Okay.
Awesome.
And
One last
Tony
question.
will go
What-
down to-
The community meeting on the evening of the 19th, what's the best time to have to hold that? From your, having people get there? 6:30, 7?
Well, we start the board meetings at 6:30, so they're kind of used, you know, not that
I
many
like the
people
opening
come.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6:30 would be the latest, if you ask me.
And we've had districts that have done like 5 or 5:30.
Oh, we gotta get people.
we gotta get
I
people
think,
here.
yeah, I think 5's a little
Commute.
early.
This is commute
Especially
land.
if there's
Yeah.
oldies, then
It's winter.
And
It's
it's a lot of
winter.
commuting out from the city.
Mhm.
Right.
And it's winter.
Yeah, if it snows.
So
Oh.
It's gonna snow that night, so.
Oh, we're-
That's gonna be another pandemic.
Pandemic.
No, no, no.
We're gonna need
6:30.
I would say 6 o'clock.
6
6
o'clock?
or 6:30,
6 o'clock.
either. or.
6
How
or
long does
6:30.
it last, an
6
hour?
o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's try 6 o'clock.
About an hour.
6
I would
o'clock.
say 6 o'clock.
Yeah, that's when we usually do
6
like
o'clock. All right.
meetings at the, like, activities meetings are usually
Right, it's
6.
6.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
6 o'clock, high school auditorium.
Yep.
And we do not need to be there.
Correct. Correct.
No.
We are not to be there, I should say.
You did it.
Well, that's what we have. We really appreciate you having the calendars out so we can
Yeah, I get
get
it.
this honed down and,
Okay.
so you'll see us in person again on the 23rd with the profile.
Yeah.
Well, some of you on the 19th.
Yeah, some of us here on the 19th, right?
And we'll be contacting Courtney mainly and Rhonda, so.
And I think you already have, Courtney, you already have email connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I remember supporting.
Courtney, do you have a cell phone we can use if we need it?
What's the best phone number?
Hang on, let her write it down for you. We're recording this, so.
Yeah.
let's
No.
put it
Okay.
up.
No, no.
We'll just, you just send us an email.
You send that to us.
Yeah, you got an email, our email.
Yep.
address.
Your
Yeah.
phone number, your address.
They're all over the world.
Social.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before
Nice
they
to see
go,
you
any
again.
questions before?
Any more?
I'm good.
We're looking forward to it and get the process going.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming out, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there, everyone all right to continue on, or you need a break at all, or? All right, let's continue on then, thank you very much. So we'll move on to item 6F, which is the
We'll be in touch, Rhonda.
object to set compensation for board members. This is an action meeting. State law allows the board to fix compensation for members. Minnesota statute 123B.09 subsection 12. Rockford Schools proposing an attached compensation plan. I know Jessica has put together,
Well,
Oh,
Amy
Jessica and Amy.
and
So-
Brenda, Courtney, Kellyanne.
yeah, may I speak?
Yeah, please.
Chair Courtney?
Yeah, please.
This
Thank you.
particular item has kind of been on the radar for the past 2 or 3 years in terms of aligning or just kind of re-looking at how the board compensation works, both in terms of the process with payroll, as well as looking at the equity across the board with the different board members, with the different committees and their time commitments. And so again, it's been something that administratively I've looked at for the last couple of years. And I reached out to a couple of board members, and of course I have a administrative, a mentee, if you will, who's working on her superintendent license. And so she really did take the lead, and that's Kellyanne Loughran. She really took the lead in terms of doing the research and looking at districts around us, both geographically, looking at other conference districts and school districts that are our size, and gathered information in terms of what their compensation looked like for, some of them paid stipends, some of them paid per building, per meeting, the compensation per committee. She just really did a nice job at gathering all the data. And so, in looking at that, and then looking at the compensation that individual board members have received over the last couple of years, but just kind of looking at all of that data, we came up with the proposal that's in your board packet. So that's how we got here. And thank you, Kelly.
Excellent. Thank you, Kelly, Jessica and Amy. Jessica and Amy, is there anything you wish to add to what was shared?
I would like to add to that after looking at all the data, it just goes to show that the districts vary greatly from what one district does to the next. There wasn't really any consistency, like most districts do this or most districts do that. It was very different, and it didn't even go with like this size district does this and this size district does that. It really varied. And so we worked together, we looked at the data, we looked at what we currently do. And so you can see we wrote down about the history as far as, Amy and I have been on the board. This first tonight started our 7th year. And in those 6 years being on the board, it has never changed. In those 6 years, Amy and I have learned a lot about this. Our first 2 years had no idea about how things were to be done with compensation and everything, and want things to be, everybody to be on the same page and know exactly what they need to do to be compensated for their time, and to do our best to make sure that the job that you're doing, you're getting compensated for the job that you're doing. So with that being said, we started with looking at those required school board committees. And you can see that we have, tonight we put together the Finance Committee, Policy Committee, the Buildings and Grounds Committee, and Negotiations Committee. We'll discuss a little further down how that works for compensation. Then we have our ad hoc committees. In there, it talks about that there's generally about 72 meetings within those ad hoc committee meetings, so that's about $7,200 to the district at our current stipend. Or not stipend, sorry, at a current compensation, how things are set up. Currently, board members are paid $100 per meeting, up to 4 hours. So from 1 minute to 4 hours, it's $100. Anything after 4 hours is $125. And so with that in mind, we talked about doing a stipend for our board meetings, our work sessions, our regular sessions, our special sessions, anything that's scheduled, that like for the whole board, that is paid through the district. We don't ever have to ask for reimbursement for that. That's just done. And then the extra committees that we're on is where we ask for reimbursement. And that's kind of where the inconsistencies are, because we've been asked at the 6-month mark basically to say, hey, turn everything in for the past 6 months. And the purpose of doing this is to hopefully try to clean that up a bit so everybody's doing it every month and being a little more consistent with that. So are we ready to go to the proposal? And everybody know this is not anything set in stone. If everybody wants to stay exactly how we're doing everything, and that if we're that's a consensus across the board, we stay at what we're doing currently. This is just looking at data, looking at history, everything, just trying to get things a little bit more concrete and not as vague, and try to get things more equitable with the jobs that people have on the board. So number one is all board members will receive a yearly stipend of $3,000. So we currently have 25 board meetings. That is our 12 regular sessions, our 12 work sessions, and our organizational meeting. So that would be $2,500. The extra $500 we discussed when we were meeting would include things such as a special session that gets scheduled in, and we get one of those a year maybe. Some years we might get more than one, but that's part of the job. We also have,
And just if I might add in.
Yes.
Sometimes like the chair might cancel a work session.
Yes.
Because there's not something to do, so there's some give and take with that schedule a little bit.
yes,
so-
every once in a
Yep.
while that will happen. Thank you, Amy.
Mhm.
Yes, and then we have, this week we have the conference, the MSBA conference for 2 days. We also have graduation, we have the welcome back to teachers and the end of the year farewell or celebration, whatever. So those are all things as a board that, you know, we should be expected to be at to support the district. And so that's all part of that stipend. We did put in here about MSBA trainings and activities related to MSBA and associated workshop offerings. That stuff is all up for discussion. I know that we have concerns about that, and that's why we're here. That's why we're having this meeting, is to talk about that, because that can always be changed and just pulled out and put back to work. That's your additional meetings that you would just log and say, oh, I went to this conference. And then you have that logged and turn that in, and you get compensated for that. And maybe we adjust the 3,000 a little bit, so that's what we do, and that's why we're having the discussion. So at this time, is there some discussion about that? Yes.
I had mentioned this to Rhonda in an email a few days ago, but my 2 cents on that, first of all, I love this proposal. I love that it's totally streamlined and just, I love it. My only things are, for example, I have to take time off of work, 2 days off of work this week. And, you know,
Yep.
Jenny, would you like me to step in and finish, because I know what you want to say? Okay, when someone has to take off work during their wait time, sometimes they want to be compensated earlier than in 6 months.
Yep.
And so maybe pulling that out of there, and it's totally
Totally.
understandable, I'm like, absolutely, like how I feel about that. We can pull that out, and that can absolutely be something that you are compensated for. So that you are compensated sooner than
Timely.
6 months.
So I'm understanding, I thought that, like, let's take the conference, that is part of that 3,000.
Right, so we would change that amount. So we can change that amount. We could change that amount to 2,800.
Yep. 'Cause
If
like,
the board
yeah.
feels that way.
Why would, so you'd reduce it?
And
Well,
then
yeah,
make the
because
conference
otherwise
an
it was-
extra.
It was added in there as part of the 500 extra was the
Okay.
graduation, you know, those types of things.
Beth, one of the things that would change is the when, because the stipend would continue to be dispersed 2 times a year, whereas a voucher, we're wanting to process those on a monthly cadence. So if we were to pull this out, then the activities related to the conference or training, you spend, 3 or 4 hours at a training, you would submit that right away on a monthly basis.
Well, that's where I'm just a little confused about the conference, because like I had to take PTO in the morning. Jenny sounds like she had to take PTO.
I have to take time off without pay.
Okay. And I couldn't even get out. I have to be working from downtown, so I'm only gonna be able to attend the conference for half a day. And then, I wanted to go to the last one though. Did you notice the last session at 4 o'clock is school boards and science of reading? Hello, so I'll be there. But my point is, that to me, the conference, because many of us have to take a day off if we go, it should be different than the 3,000. And I'm okay saying I only attended for 4 hours if I sit there and work, you know. But that's just a big deal. It's really important to go, and I wanna honor people that have to take a day off work. Be it
Absolutely.
unpaid or PTO.
So the talk is to reduce compensation by $500 and pull certain
Oh,
things
not
like.
by 500,
Or,
No, so from 3,000 to 25.
or maybe to 28. Because you have to
And
leave some in
just-
there for the special session.
Okay, so
Yeah.
but then.
Graduation
Graduation,
things.
yeah.
Okay. And then MSBA would still be a,
Thing.
Voucher.
timesheet.
Well,
So-
especially since Jenny's gonna be new treasurer, and you're gonna be new chair, that's some serious training that they have to
Yeah,
go to.
yeah, absolutely, there's training for that you would be having to go
Yeah,
to,
I understand.
which is important. So, something that I would like to share about MSBA, I would think that, like, if you're going to a training, to be reimbursed for, like, trainings for the positions, trainings for, like, superintendent evaluation, trainings for phases 1 through 4, because those are super important. Trainings, because you just wanna go to a training, to me, I have a hard time asking to be reimbursed for something like that, cause that's just a choice, or like the copy and conversation or whatever, that's my choice. If I can make it today, I can be a part of that. I have my own personal, and this is something that we had discussion about, like Amy asked me, like, well, what did you do to be compensated, working on the policy stuff? I said, well, Rhonda called us in for a meeting in August, and it wasn't even for the policy, right? And I asked for reimbursement for that meeting. It was like an hour meeting, a little over an hour. And then I met with her 2 or 3 times for policy, did work at home and everything. My choice. I didn't ask for reimbursement on those because I got, for the August one, that's not my own personal feeling on it. That's how I was on that. And Amy talked too about how she doesn't always ask for the reimbursement for the meetings that she has had to attend. We're trying to clean
That up.
a little bit. But I think things that are like, you just choose to attend because you just want to,
It
I have a
depends on
hard
what it
time with
is.
that.
I think there's some like probably closer, I'm not sure when they start up, but there's like legislative ones. It's important to have somebody there because you get a lot of information. I don't know.
May I suggest?
Yeah.
May I suggest that we might possibly consider striking that last sentence of section 1?
Yep.
And almost framing it as the stipend covers really those internal activities versus an external activity. MSBA is an external organization. We're participating in
So
their
that's-
meetings
so
versus
external.
graduation,
That's
end of the year
internal.
ceremony,
Right.
opening week breakfast, meet and greet new teachers. All of those internal activities are paid under the stipend, and
Yeah.
then the external are paid through a voucher.
I think
Because
that
again, we
makes-
don't control the dates and times of those.
That is true. That is true.
Like that, thank you.
And they're generally kind of, obviously, lots of times we don't have to take off work. And then the ones that we do, not all of us feel like we have to all go to the
100% of the board
breakfast.
doesn't have to do
Yeah.
that.
And they're a lot shorter, an hour or two here.
Mhm.
Okay, so we'd strike, so the proposal is that we would strike the last 2 sentences of that, and would we change, we can keep going.
How do we feel about the stipend amount?
Yeah.
Do we keep it at 3?
There's 25 regular meetings, 25 normal meetings.
Graduation.
Graduation, beginning, end,
Special session.
special.
That's
I mean,
4 for sure.
Gives you one buffer.
Great.
Yeah.
How is it feeling? Fine. Jamie?
I'm fine with it there, or I'm fine with it lowered a little bit. If the discussion was that 3,000 was for including the conferences, I would be okay with either.
Beth, what's your feeling on it?
Well, then we lower to 29, I think, just keep it at 3.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's,
Yeah.
And you know what? This gives us, we reevaluate this in 1 year.
Yeah.
I think that's important, because we will have numbers in 1 year, and we can look and see how it looks, and we can adjust things in a year.
Yep.
Okay?
So let's strike the last sentence.
Two, last two.
sentences. That's what I was gonna ask them, like, cause it doesn't make sense to have that
No.
previous sentence.
So then though, can I add a proposal in? So then we would want to, down in section, board members will have the opportunity to submit vouchers at $50, blah, 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 blah.
So number 9. you're
Number
saying.
9, I think we could just probably wrap into that, or else create a whole new bullet point around MSBA training. It's whatever, but I do believe, to Jessica's point, we should add some clarity around the MSBA training and what.
Conference and training.
Yeah,
You
and
could,
like,
you could simply do meetings/training sessions.
Conference, I would say
You need to-
conference,
okay.
conference and training.
Training, like that maybe pertain to your
yeah.
role, I don't know, if you
Yeah.
wanna get that
Right, right,
specific.
right.
Submit
Right, because I mean, it
vouchers.
does make sense for Beth to go to the legislative MSBA meetings, because she's on C and stuff like that.
With the
And while it might be interesting to me or something, it doesn't necessarily make sense for me to go to it. So maybe it makes sense to tie it to like your role, but then that's a little bit, there's nuance there. So,
Why don't we move those 2 sentences to number 9?
Okay.
The 2 sentences that we just struck out of item 1?
Except for this stipend covers.
Right.
Yeah. So just start with this, we value and in many instances require participation in continuing education for board members, such as participation in MSBA related training, inclusive of activities of annual conferences and associated workshop offerings, blah.
I like it.
And
And
throw
then-
that into 9.
And then roll that into 9. And then board members will have the opportunity to submit vouchers at $50.
Jessica will work with you on
Yeah, that
making
sounds
sure
great.
that
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
perfect.
Let's just set up a time.
Shifting that over to
And
number
then
9.
can we just bring it to the next meeting to vote
Yeah,
on it then?
yeah, this will come, or no, this has to be
We
done
need to
here.
do that tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
So we're moving it there, we'll have the.
Okay, so say it one more time where we want to move that, to make sure that we have.
To
it
number 9.
Starting with, we value,
Um,
second to the last sentence from number 1. We value, and in many instances, that's why I heard you start.
Additionally, yeah, but we value.
So moving the last 2 sentences from 1.
Strike this stipend covers. So, you would put in there, participation in MSBA related trainings, inclusive activities of annual conference and associated workshop offerings will be, what's the word I'm looking for?
Will be compensated?
Will be compensated at this rate.
Or the 5,100, 125.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was the end of that?
He was just clarifying,
Will
at
be
this rate.
compensated?
The rest of.
At this
number 9.
rate, because it has
Oh.
the rate in number 9.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Amy?
Because I'm just reading it right now, so.
Are you in the Google Docs?
Yes.
Perfect.
Are you in the Google Doc?
I will get there.
I am
Okay.
I was just asking her if she could even project it, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm not able to
Sorry,
connect
you're
it
in it.
other than there. Well, maybe,
Yeah, why not?
because I'm not connected to it.
But it might not be worth it, it's a sentence.
It looks,
Yeah.
it looks
Perfect.
fine.
It's not worth
Courtney,
it.
you're fine. Well, I might be able to pop back over there still, but I'm just gonna
We
pull.
need to put in additionally, the sentence additionally, I'll grab that.
I did.
You
I
did?
just did that, yeah.
Aw, thanks, Amy.
I cut it.
Look at that. Perfect, yeah, it's in there now, you guys. It's that exact same thing, we just, struck out the stipend part, and then we ended it with will be compensated at this rate.
So number 9 now reads specifically, board members will have the opportunity to submit vouchers at $50 for meetings, 45 minutes or less, meetings over an hour, $100, and for meetings over 4 hours, $125.
Actually, it should be meetings over 45 minutes. Oh my gosh, why bump meetings over 45 minutes?
Well, 45 minutes to 4 hours,
Yeah.
if we're changing something.
Yep.
Hours.
I don't have it up. I can't get it.
Yeah. So that's what that's.
Can you read, so,
Yep.
reading number 1, all we're doing
I got
is
it.
striking the last 2 sentences, and can you reread number 9, please?
Reread number 9.
Board members will have the board members will have the opportunity to submit vouchers at $50 for meetings 45 minutes or less. Meetings over 45 minutes to 4 hours is 4 hours, $100, and for meetings over 4 hours, $125 payment rate for any meetings not already described above. What just got erased?
That's how it is on.
We're
that is how it
described
is.
above where the district has requested.
For any
It
that's
just
striking.
doesn't read right.
I think
So-
the P in payment is supposed to be capitalized.
Yeah, there, here, hold on.
Oh, capital payment. Yeah.
Yeah, hold on.
Capital
Amy, are
one?
you in that?
I'm in there now, yeah, I can add
Okay,
it.
capitalize. Payment rate for any meeting not already described above where the district has requested active participation
There it is.
by a board member.
So I just changed this to say, this payment rate applies to any meeting not already described above where the district has requested active participation by a board member.
This request will be logged monthly and paid out monthly. Additionally, we value and in many instances require participation and continuing education for board members, participation in MSBA-related training, inclusive of activities of annual conference and associated workshop offerings will be compensated at this rate.
Sounds perfect.
Right.
And so on number 9, where it says where the district has requested participation, is that a prior approval or you find a conference and you want to go and you go?
That, I mean, that's not required participation, that's
I think
Right.
voluntary.
Right.
More the meetings, and I think,
Right,
like, let's
that's
just bring
outside
up
of this
the
thing.
MRE conference. No one's ever gone, but I think if someone wants to, I think we'd bring it up, like,
Yeah,
like,
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey guys, I'm going, give me $5,000.
Well, that's why I was asking,
Yeah.
where the district has requested you to participate versus, oh, I like that, I want to go to that. I'm going to put it on my voucher.
So like, you request me to come in and meet with you for an hour?
Yeah.
That's the
Got it.
district requesting me
Got it,
for a meeting, and it's not one of my committee meetings.
got it.
It's separate.
But I'm
That's
out
what
on a site, I'm really interested in mental health, I want to go to that mental health conference.
It's not, is it an MSBA conference?
I'm just making it up.
Yeah,
Right.
that's, no, that one is,
Because
no,
Right,
so
right,
this,
right, okay.
this is district has requested activity,
Yep.
like, I would like you to come in and meet with blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
Oh, okay, then you get compensated for that.
Okay, I just wanted to make,
That's what
I just wanted to
that
bring
is.
some light onto that one little
Yes,
statement there.
that's what that, so everybody knows that's what that statement includes. So,
Because right now, the way this is written is it says participation in MS, for the education side of it, MSBA-related training, inclusive of activities of annual conference and associated workshop offerings will be compensated at this rate. So it's MSBA. So
yeah.
Okay.
if Jessica says, oh, hey, here's a cool, like, teacher's CEU thing, but it kind of loosely applies to my school board thing, well,
No.
I don't, that's not what we're going
how
for
about
here.
the
It's
national
governance.
school board thing, that was in Phoenix this year, that'd be good.
It's
I think that's
governance,
something we have to discuss
right?
as a board.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
agreed.
would have to-
It's where the
Okay.
district has requested active participation. Okay, I'm good with that.
All right. So then we move to number 2, the board chair will receive a stipend of $500. That hasn't changed in an amount. to cover the duties associated with chair responsibilities that occur outside of normal governance meetings. And like I said, this is unchanged from past precedent. Some of the duties of our chair in the past has included legal, getting a phone call, this is happening in your district, and guess what? Here you go. And now you are spending hours, numerous hours, dealing with legal and managing and trying to organize a meeting together for the board, and there's a lot that gets thrown at the chair that the rest of the board at times isn't even aware of. Everything that gets thrown at the chair outside of regular chair duties. So that's what that covers, is those things that.
Yeah, and it could be, theoretically, it could be very quiet. It could be a very quiet year, or it could be a very active year, but essentially, which we'll get to further on in the agenda, and just speaking from the last bit of time, one of the authorities that we'll give to the chair is that they can communicate with legal counsel. And there are sometimes in instances where that is prudent to do so, whether it's employment related or whether it's something going on or whatever, but that's the chair's responsibility, and they have that authority to do that on behalf of said board. But I will just say historically, that's not time that I've ever logged. I've never been in. So it's part of being available, or if the superintendent needs to reach out outside of board prep or other things like that, but needs to reach out to the board chair for something, whatever that may be, you answer the call. But it's not like, oh, I answered the call, I'm gonna log a meeting minute because the soup reached out to me. It's not that at all. So it's just it's really taking your role. It's a nominal stipend, I would say, for the duties that are absorbed by the chair. And again, it'll vary year to year, but.
And so that stipend hasn't changed. If we feel as a board that that stipend should change, that it needs to be more, I personally wouldn't accept it being less.
That was a pretty consistent stipend.
Yep.
When we looked at the
Across all
comps.
boards,
Agreed.
correct. They all had, but they varied in amounts. But
That one was pretty consistent.
Mm-hmm. Close in that number. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know if anybody
Yep, so-
wants that to change
So
or not.
I
Move
think
forward.
it's fine, yeah, let's move forward. So the two new ones, right?
The
Clerk
number
and
3 and
treasurer.
number 4 are new with the research that we did. Districts would compensate clerk, and treasurer wouldn't compensate clerk and treasurer. So there was varying degrees. Our district has had clerk and treasurers that are a little more vested in their duties. By no means do we need to move in this direction. If we feel we don't need to move in this direction, that's totally fine. It was just from the data that we collected.
To be honest, it'll be much easier than writing down every single meeting that you're on if you choose to put it on.
So
there.
this is new, I'm not saying it's
Right.
bad, but this is.
No, this is new. So you can see so the clerk has preparing for a policy committee in partnership with district leaders. So that would be the clerk meets with the superintendent to go over direction of policies for the year, or there's some changes or whatever they discuss before it gets brought to the policy committee, right? So this is all wrapped into that, so I wouldn't be
And I will
writing
say,
down the $100, whatever.
and I will say, in terms of our policy, we found ourselves, especially this year, since we're really trying to be, I want to say aggressive with our policies. Some of our policies are many years old. And we haven't re-looked at them for a while. And so we've been pretty
Yes.
good about a cadence with bringing slates of policies to the board.
Yes.
And that's all, the work of the clerk before the board meeting.
Right.
So,
So we're doing that also as a clerk, something that started a couple of years ago, seeing a need for it, is doing, reviewing meeting minutes. So if you notice, they take notes through it all, and then Courtney's wonderful. She has a Google Doc, shares the minutes with me. If I have questions, I give her a call or an email message, and we go through. We'll even listen to the recording if we need to clarify something, whatever. But just making sure that we have that 2 eyes on the minutes, which definitely helps. So that's something that happens for every board meeting. Treasurer, you can see all the list of things that the treasurer does. So.
Don't look over there, look over there.
Yeah, you have a wonderful mentor.
Yes.
Couldn't have a better mentor.
Well,
There.
and I did just reach out to Eric really quick in advance,
Yes.
just to ask him, like, what do you do, like, for your job as treasurer, and how does that work? And, you know, I've covered, so part of being chair is that you have the ability to, like, give the thumbs up for funds transfer and those sort of things, it's either the board, and we'll get to that too, you know, it's the board or the treasurer. And, like, you have to answer the call. It's the same thing if the soup calls the chair for something, like, the treasurer has to be available to do the work of the district. And so it's like, it's just giving a nod to the fact that you're doing the work of the district, but like, every time you get that call once a month or however often it is, like, you're not gonna put in a stipend for, you know, a less than 45-minute meeting. It's gonna be, that's gonna be part of the duties as assigned as the treasurer. So it's just giving a nod to that additional responsibility that the leader, and it's, I would also say it's probably similar to the chair, not paying for 100% of the hours and things like that, but it's also not, you know, recording every meeting and all the things. It's giving a nod to the work,
So our thumbs up, continue on?
Yep.
Okay.
I do
so-
have one question
Yes.
regarding numbers 2 through 6.
Yeah.
Those are just going to be automatic.
Yep.
So
We don't have to do
Yes, we
anything.
don't have to do anything, and they'll be split in half.
And they'll know
every
which
6 months. Yep.
committees everybody's on and,
Yep,
Yep.
okay.
they will have all that information, that will all be,
Gotcha.
it's so nice, it'll be
It's-
super
I like
streamlined and we don't have to worry about it.
It's
It'll be
the,
really nice.
the four these four and the 4 committees.
Yeah.
Correct.
Paid
Yeah.
twice a year.
Yep,
So are there any questions for 4 through 6, or are they,
so,
Well, it's actually 4 through 5.
Yeah.
okay?
yeah, 4 through 5.
There's like 5.
So it's 3 of the 4 board committees. They have a pretty regular set of meetings, similar in number of meetings being on each of those committees. So rather than having to fill out the time that you've been there, you're expected to be there, do your best to be at those meetings, because it's not like they're every week or anything. So hopefully, because it's a board committee, everyone will be able to be there for that committee, and you will be compensated for your time on those committees. When it comes to negotiations, this was really hard to decide what to do with negotiations, being on negotiations. Sometimes negotiations, we have a prep meeting, and then a meeting with the group, a prep meeting 2 weeks later, and then a meeting with the group that we're negotiating with, and that's 4 meetings in a month. And then maybe we have 2 meetings in the next month, and maybe we have 3, maybe we have 1. It's very inconsistent. We wanted to try to find something that would balance that. So, we talked about just doing a stipend when a contract is actively in negotiations. It's $250. And during
Per
that.
month.
Per month.
Per month. But board members are required to document that they were at the meeting. So you'll see, this is a draft, might change a little bit, but you can see under the negotiations committee, you would just have to document the day that you were at that meeting. And it's just, you know, to show, and then if you were at least 1, you are compensated for that month. So, like, currently, we are in active negotiations until everything gets approved, voted on, and passed by the group, and then we approve it as a board. So even though we're actively in negotiations currently, if we don't have any meetings, there is no stipend for that. Does that make sense?
So for 284, just to be clear,
Yeah.
So for 284, we settled with them in December.
Tentative agreement.
Tentative agreement.
Tentative.
But we have not had a meeting in January. We likely won't
we shouldn't have
We
any more.
shouldn't, so there really wouldn't be a board stipend for two.
Right, that's what I was trying to say, like, we shouldn't have any.
The only
Though
thing I
we're
could
still-
see is if 284 came back.
Right.
And said, hey, we went to our membership, blah, blah,
Right.
blah.
Don't give me ideas, no.
Yeah, so
Anyway.
just to add to some
Fair.
color to what Mr. Gordy, if I might, with what, can I add, thank you.
There.
Color to what Ms. Johnson is putting in place. Like, it's true, like there could be some negotiations where you're actively engaged, like five meetings. It could be actively with the people. It could be some board, like you also meet with the district leadership.
Yeah.
And then another month it could be very quiet. It all depends. And
Yeah.
so again, to Jess's point, like the intent is like, again, is there a way that we can get this sort of a board approved committee into more of a stipend situation?
Streamlined.
But yet and give some predictability to the district generally, you know, about what that's gonna look like from a comp perspective.
And we have a year here.
Yep, to learn
To
some.
document and see, like, did it make sense to do it that way? Was it pretty equal to do it that way? Or was it really skewed and we need to go back a different direction with it? Like, and
Yeah.
we have that this year to do that, because we will be negotiating
Yep.
at least one. So I think,
So point of question then.
Yeah.
So board members on the negotiation committee bill would be compensated a monthly stipend of $250 when the contract is actively in negotiations and
And-
meetings are occurring?
and it says compensation for the monthly stipend requires the board member to document meeting attendance at a minimum of one time that calendar month for an active negotiation session. This request will be logged monthly and paid out monthly. So you have to log it on your voucher
Mhm.
to be compensated for
So,
that.
so what that could mean to Mr. Gordy is like if I'm on negotiations and there's only one meeting in that active month and
Yep.
I miss it,
Then
but
you
yet
don't
I'm
get
still doing
compensated.
all my homework and doing all my things and like being active, I do not get compensated for my time that month because I didn't show up to that meeting.
Probably,
Yep,
Yep.
and then,
Okay.
so it
Yeah.
just kind of is what it is, but
Yep.
again, the goal is to try to streamline it and to
Perfect.
try to have it be more predictable.
I think that's a good starting point.
And then we can
Try
look at
this,
it, look at
yep.
numbers and compare what it, you know, at
See
the
what
old
goes.
rate, the new rate, how to balance out, maybe we need to, and then we adjust it.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. I mean, that's what we should do, be transparent and do our due
Mhm.
diligence.
Well, and each group is so different, like the principal one, what did we meet?
Yeah,
Twice,
yeah,
maybe?
there's only a few times, so that's why it was, we discussed per contract a stipend. We discussed just leaving it as is, but that's so hard, like, if there was just, we really wanted to try to find a middle ground, so this was kind of after really brainstorming, going
Mhm.
through, this is kind of what we came to, and thought, well, let's see after a year what it looks like, so.
Okay.
Number 7, all board members will receive $50 per ad hoc committee meeting of 55 minutes or less. Okay, and members receive $100 for all meetings over 45 minutes and $125 for meetings over 4 hours. This request for payment will be logged monthly and paid out monthly. So again, we'll go to this right here.
Sorry.
Point of
Yep.
In that first sentence, you had said 55, we've got
Did I say
45.
55?
She did, she meant
Sorry,
45.
45.
Okay, I
45.
just wanted to clarify to make sure.
That was just the brain and mouth miscommunicating.
Yep.
Ms.
Also,
Neal?
one more thing,
Yeah.
can we change that middle sentence or the middle $100 one to match the one
Yep.
above?
Or
To
below,
be
yep.
between,
45 minutes to 4 hours.
Yep.
Yep,
thank you.
and 125 for meetings over 4. Yep, absolutely. Number 7, board members will be paid twice a year for all stipends, yearly stipends, leadership stipends, and membership on the 3 required board committees of finance, buildings and grounds, and policy. Number 9, we talked about already, we've read through and all agreed on it. That one is the same as a 50, all of that, and that goes with the district requested active participation by board members. So this is the number 7 was in regards to ad hoc committee meetings. And number 9 is in any other meetings as well that were trainings, conference. 10, participation in MSBA related trainings inclusive activities of annual conference. Oh, that one we
delete
need
that.
to delete. Sorry, that got added and it got added, when we were gonna add it instead of just combine it with 9. So, okay. Number 10, during the years where the board is actively engaged in superintendent search responsibilities, meetings that occur outside of the regularly scheduled meetings will be compensated at the standard meeting rates as described above in item 9. This includes, but is not limited to, special sessions required for interview, community engagement, and other best practices associated with comprehensive and thoughtful superintendent search and hiring activities. So for example, tonight we had a meeting, but it was part of our board meeting. We don't get compensated for that. But
Like all the dates?
that we just
Yeah.
added to our calendar, all of those, that's where we give our board report. For the next 3 months, we need to log those. Everybody make sure you have your dates and you log those, and
So
they're
those will go to
turned
the
in.
bottom, like down here?
Yep, that's where you would write them down here,
And maybe
in the blanks. Yes.
maybe just because this is happening, perhaps the district could pre-populate some of that for us.
Oh, yeah.
And then we
could-
can just initial it
Yeah, and you would just
in our
initial
voucher
it.
of that month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Put
Like-
your date in that you were there and.
Yeah, in the bottom. I mean,
Yep.
just to, again, if our goal is to have it easy.
Is this going to be available electronically or solely in paper version?
This one,
The
you know, we
voucher.
give our board report,
It'll be in your phone.
at the end of our meetings, we give our board report, like, oh, I went to this meeting, da, 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 da. That's where you're just gonna, I went to this, at the end of the meeting, there you go, and it's done, it's taken care of, it
So,
should be pretty easy.
to Jenny's point, I would agree, I like it electronically so I can record it
And
at
it's
That's
just
your
happening.
data?
the time of
We
the
could
meeting.
absolutely have
Or
one,
even like a fillable PDF.
And then
right?
I can just send it in.
Yeah.
Or
I mean,
have a
it's an
paper
Excel
ahead of
document
time?
right now,
Cause
but-
I like, yeah.
I would
Or,
say-
but we could do a fillable PDF, I can even create it.
I would say either that or a Word doc again, kind of like we do with some of our other calendars, where it's a shared Word doc
Yeah, that's right.
or a shared.
We can always get you a paper copy.
No,
That
she's
you
saying
can-
she wants electronic.
For
She wants it
electronic?
electronic each month. So, we can absolutely figure that out.
Okay. I mean, I'm good either way. I just thought if we wanted options or if we want to do all one way or all the other or.
Yeah, we just thought like this would be a great,
Well,
like,
even if you do
we're
electronically,
already
we're gonna print it.
verbalizing what
Right,
we're doing.
right. So we're not saving a tree by going electronic.
But for
Self-sign
today,
it.
can we use the paper one?
Well, we're not doing board reports today, and this is a draft, so if we
Yeah.
need to change anything, we can.
Oh, shoot.
It says draft across. We don't turn this in until our meeting on the 23rd anyways.
Oh, that's true.
Pick
Okay,
up
fair
the
enough.
policy then.
So, all right, I think that is it. How does everybody feel about what we decided as a board?
That is awesome. This looks like it took a lot of time and energy, and it is really,
Okay.
really appreciated.
Yes, thank you. very
It's
much.
needed to be done. Amy and I can really speak to that. It's something that's been needed to be done, but as we all know, the district has had many other things
Yep.
that have taken
Right.
precedence over this, and so finally came up and said after our last board meeting, hey, Rhonda, let's get it done.
I had help on that.
Kellyanne.
And
Kellyanne was able
yep.
to do the research,
Yep, and we
but
got
for
it.
the research,
Yep,
don't know if we'd have got it together.
yep, no, it's great. This is wonderful. So glad that we were able to get this put together and everybody's in support of it. And, so then Eric will now move forward with our next steps.
Thank you. So we had read what the item is. You had heard the proposal with the amendments to the proposal. So that item is now out for consideration, so can there be a motion to set compensation for board members?
I will make a motion to set the compensation for board members as described and modified in this meeting tonight.
Excellent, thank you, Ms. Nealon, and a second?
I'll second.
And seconded by Ms. Hillstrom. Any further discussion or conversation? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and I appreciate all of that tremendous work. Great work. Good job, everybody. Thank you for doing that. That's long overdue. Designating time and place for the meetings. Currently, the school board meets in the district office boardroom located at the middle school on the third Monday of the month, starting at 6:30 unless otherwise stated. So, as you can see, there are several dates listed on there with work sessions and regular sessions, some skinny, some separated out, as well as those moved for President's Day and Martin Luther King observance days. Yes, Jessica?
We also, back in July, we changed our June ones because of at the time, a current board member that is not available that last week of June, but now things have changed. So if we need to adjust that at all, I don't know if we need to, if everyone's cool with how we have it set, let's just leave it, we're good to go. But that is, I just wanted to bring that up, that usually it was regular meeting and then we had the evaluation following, whatever. So I just wanted to bring that up. And Rhonda, it's okay to have June 26th for a board meeting, correct? We have enough time for the approvals for fund transfer, all that stuff, and they have enough time before the end of the month. I mean, it is the end of the fiscal year. I don't want to jam up our business office with only 4 days to finish things if we need to approve things a week earlier. So, I just want to throw that out there because that can be an issue.
I don't know if I can fully answer that.
Normally the meeting would be the 19th, but we can't do the 19th because it's Juneteenth. So we could do the 21st for the regular meeting and then do the evaluation on the 26th. So just throwing that out there.
Oh, flip
Since
them?
we already just flipped those. I just worry about the business office not having
Yeah,
enough time.
and I haven't asked that specific question to the business office,
It's just
But-
end of fiscal.
but I understand what you're saying, and so it might be in our best interest to flip it.
How does everybody feel about that?
So,
Since it's already out.
so what do we, okay, so we
Or
agreed on the
even, could we even stack them? And make it a,
Not with your evaluation.
Well, we've done it before, but.
So what do you want, say again what,
I would just, so the June 21st is a Wednesday, because we can't do the 19th.
Yep.
It's Juneteenth. So currently it's a superintendent evaluation, but we could make that the regular meeting of the board on the 21st and then bump the superintendent evaluation to the following Monday, just to give our business office that cushion of time before the end of the fiscal year with stuff that we have to approve that then they have stuff to do.
may I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, selfishly, I was gonna ask if we could stack them on the 21st,
Right. And I
because
was
I'm
gonna
gonna have a
send
hard,
motion.
pardon?
Okay, we'll keep going.
Well, it's the end of the year, and I know I'm gonna have a hard time getting, with my contract, getting days in. It's kinda use it or lose it, and
Right.
I'm gonna end up losing some,
And I will say, Ms. Dean, that with what had happened last year with changing how the evaluation was delivered,
It went pretty.
it went
Did go
pretty
well.
quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we
Yeah.
were able to get done within
Oh,
a
they did.
good amount of time.
amount of time.
I mean, so.
That's good.
Yeah, actually, I think, it wasn't too bad.
and I
So if
don't
we
know
could
that
stack
anyone
it.
complains if we only have one meeting in June.
Right.
It'll be stacked, it'll be followed by a work session, it'll be a regular meeting followed by a work session.
So would we do the
or you
work
wouldn't do
session
the work
after?
session at 5:30 and then just your regular board
I
meeting?
would do the evaluation second, personally. That's my 2 cents,
So
but
the
maybe I'm
regular
wrong.
meeting at 5:30 and the evaluation at
Following,
7:30?
Yeah.
Or immediate.
And then nothing on the 26th.
Correct.
Any thoughts?
It's fine,
5:30,
baby.
7:30?
It's fine.
Are you sure you wanna change the time of the regular board meeting?
That's my only
Yeah.
concern is for the public.
Mm-hmm, agreed.
Why do you want to do the evaluation after?
I worry about the time frame of it, that's all. I just don't want,
To run out of time?
I don't feel it's respectful to the person we're doing the evaluation of to say, well, we gotta get done with this because we got a meeting
I'll
after
be
this.
okay.
I
last
don't.
one.
I know, I was gonna say,
get
do
it.
we even
I get
need
it.
to do it?
So can we do,
Yes, we
and so what were you proposing?
Well, I was trying to, 5:30 and 7:30 or 6 and.
What if we did
7:30.
5 and 6:30?
5 for the eval,
Yeah.
for the work session.
Mm-hmm. Instead of 5:30, just
because it's
commit to
closed
coming.
anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So if everybody can do 5,
And then we would need to commit to, like last time, being thoughtful and pragmatic and getting
Yeah.
our ballot done, and which should be,
No, it should be fine.
yes, should be.
So the proposal is to remove the June 26th regular meeting and put that on to June 21st.
make it a double header.
Yep, and so June 21st work session would start at 5 PM for the superintendent evaluation, and the regular board meeting on June 21st at 6:30 PM.
Yeah.
So make an amendment to the item up for consideration.
So that would be the only change. Anybody have any other dates in there that jump out at them?
Don't have any date changes. I'm just curious, when do we set the rest of the year's schedule? When does that happen?
It says up in here May.
So,
Okay.
yep, the last few years, the board, it has been an agenda item in the May meeting to set kind of the school calendar,
Okay,
school board meetings.
okay. I would like to consider for next year going like through August, just because I'm really busy in the summers. So knowing which dates those are so that I can put them in earlier would be helpful.
So what I would recommend, like, for past, just a heads up,
Just
just
assume
look at
the
our
first
past,
and
I would
third.
assume July will be a back-to-back, and it's, will be the third Monday.
Yep.
August will be third Monday and last Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of
Okay.
first
Instead
and
of
third,
first and
it'll
third.
be third and last.
Okay. Okay.
Just,
Yep.
there you go, so just put those on your
Odd-
calendar.
Yeah,
Just
odd
Yeah.
months.
We can help you
Usually
with that.
Usually
staff,
staff,
yeah,
Jamie, we can
even
sit down and
months,
look at the calendar and I'll
it's-
help you through it.
Yeah,
Months
okay.
have one day,
That's not a
months
problem.
have 2 days.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we had made that change for June. Any other considerations? All right, so there had been an amendment to the time and place of meetings as discussed here. I don't believe we need to have a motion, Amy, to approve that change, do we?
It just has to be wrapped into the motion.
Very good. So can I have a motion for time and place of meetings with the amendments that we made for June 21 and 26?
I'll make a motion to approve the time and place of meetings as stated, with the change being the June work session time will be bumped up to 5 o'clock for the superintendent evaluation on June 21st. And the regular meeting will also be held on June 21st at its regularly scheduled time of 6:30.
I'll second that.
First by Ms. Johnson, second by Ms. Edwards. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Official media outlet designation. School districts are required by law to publish their meeting proceedings and many notices in their official newspaper. The Crow River News has been designated our official newspaper for several years. Sun Media newspaper sent us a letter saying they would wish to continue to serve. Rates are listed, and the letter from Sun Media is included in our packet. Can I have a motion on the object at hand?
I will make a motion to approve the designation of our official media outlet as the Crow River News.
Very good. Motion by Jamie Hillstrom. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Nealon. Any discussion?
So it is what it is. My only discussion is that the letter that they sent us is addressed to not our current superintendent. And our current superintendent has been in her role for over 3 years now. So I just want to note that and state that just state it. So I think there's some opportunity maybe to partner with our media partner in a different way if possible in the future, but I lift that up. But I support the motion. Again, it is what it is. We
don't have choices.
We don't have another.
we don't have it, yeah, so.
And I will add something to that if I may. I know that our executive assistant worked on looking at different options in the area. And I hadn't heard anything since, but it looks like it was exhausted and back to the original. But I do know that she was looking into.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? Thank you. We have a first and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Letter 6I. Subject is to designate official depositories. Official depositories have been used since 2016. Bank West, PMA, Associated Bank, and Old National. Bank. If the board agrees to have these depositories as listed, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the designated official depositories as stated.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson, a second.
Second.
Second, I'll do it the second. That's fine. Okay.
Ms. Edwards with the second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Item carries. Official legal counsel. Designate official legal counsel. The board needs to designate official legal counsel for the school district with an option to seek advice outside of area in times of litigation. It is recommended to have the 4 following firms as legal counsel. Persons authorized to conduct counsel include the chair, the superintendent, the business manager of the district. If the board agrees, action is needed.
Question?
Yes, just Ms. Johnson.
Superintendent Dean,
Yes.
do you feel any of these are no longer needed? Because I know at one point we had 3, we added a 4th recently. Are we in need of, do we need all 4? Is it something that maybe over this next year we need to decide that, go with the 4, but then decide whether we need to have all 4?
I would, at this point, Chair Johnson, I would keep all 4. I can say that each kind of has their lane of specialty as it relates to the incidences or instances that we need to reach out for legal advice.
Okay.
So at this point, I would suggest keeping all 4.
Okay.
And also ask, do you feel and I've asked this last time as well, do we need to increase the person of contact out to the HR director as well? Considering negotiations and contracts that are associated to that person.
I thought we added that.
I did that last year. I would suggest doing it this year.
Yeah, we added that last year. I'm almost positive we did.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We can add it. That would, there's.
I think that's necessary, especially when it comes
I
to
will
contracts.
say that the business manager, the HR director, even currently would touch base with me regarding
Any,
reaching out to legal, so that when we do get an invoice, I have some wherewithal about the why and the when and the purpose.
yep.
So I'd like to propose amending this object to also include the Human Resources Director as a identified person for being able to reach out to legal counsel. So there's an object out for consideration. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the official legal counsel as stated, with the addition of persons authorized to contact legal counsel to include the board chair, the superintendent, the business manager, and the HR director.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. There's second.
Second.
Ms. Edwards with second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent. 6K, resolution designating a combined polling place. I believe just have to make sure I didn't skip one. No, that's it.
You did.
All right, this is a resolution. So this resolution is asking Minnesota's legislation adopted in 2017 requires school districts to establish combined polling places annually. Minnesota Secretary of State Office recommends that school boards address the polling place resolution sometime after November election. The combined polling location has not changed from previous resolution and is also currently designated for use as a polling place by the City of Rockford. City of Rockford had passed their designated polling place on December 27th, 2022. So below is a resolution that needs our annual approval for following this legislation. So the resolution establishing combined polling places for multiple precincts and designated hours during which the polling place will remain open for voting for school district elections not held on the day of a statewide election. That is the object out. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to support the resolution designating a combined polling place as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Nealon. Any discussion? Seeing none, as this is a resolution, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Jamie Hillstrom,
Aye.
Jenny Nealon,
Aye.
Amy Edwards.
Aye.
Beth Prescott,
Aye.
Eric Gordy,
Aye.
Jessica Johnson, aye. Roll call vote is unanimous.
Thank you very much, and that calls a close to
All of it.
number 6. Hooray. Board and superintendent updates and announcements. So go with the announcement, the MSBA Leadership Conference, January 12th and 13th at the Minneapolis Convention Center. It sounds like we're all going to be happily attending in some form or another. Any other announcements or updates from any members?
We have a work session.
Yep, I was just asking. We also have a work session for the Board of Education, Monday, January 23rd at 5:30 in the district office, followed immediately at 6:30 with the regular meeting of the Board of Education. Excellent. With that, that brings us to number 8 for adjournment. Like motion for adjournment.
I will make that motion.
Jenny Nealon with the motion to adjourn. A second.
I will second that.
And Jessica Johnson, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Closed. 9:48 p.m.
48.